So this video is called "The Exact Moment Shane Dawson's Career Ended," and then it gives you a time. So I guess it was 12:37 p.m. I don't, 6:30:20. So June 30th, 2020. Now, unfortunately, we don't know this time zone, so this could be any time. I don't even know what it is. I don't know, but I don't think it's even really relevant. Anyway, people have been telling me about Shane Dawson. Shane Dawson is it's a YouTuber, right? And he's gay. And he's done some weird stuff in the past, so I guess that's what we're going to be looking into today. I'm curious. I heard about something to do with a cat. I don't know. Seems a little sus. Anyway, I think the original uploader, this guy, he removed the video for some reason, so we're watching a re-upload, so that's unfortunate, I suppose. Let's get into this.
2020, 12:37 p.m. Central Time. The moment Shane Dawson's career ended. He hasn't made a single video, post, or even tweet since then. Now, I'm not saying that he'll never work again, or he won't keep making money, or even that his views are going to go down. I'm saying that his career as Shane Dawson, the persona of Shane Dawson, is over. And all because of what he did that day. Out of nowhere,
what'd he do?
Shane Dawson starts a live stream. Now, nobody knew what we were about to see on this live stream. We knew it was going to be bad.
Why?
Just not this bad.
I'm losing my mind. This is so. Oh my god.
Shane has upped the ante. The amount of time that I spent watching Shane's film, I will never get back.
He just shoved a penis cookie into a kid's mouth.
He's firing at will. And at children.
What the hell is happening?
Hi, and welcome back to me talking about whatever I want. Today I want to talk about Shane Dawson, because as you may have noticed, there's kind of a lot going on. But first I want to talk about me. If you're a longtime subscriber, you may have noticed that my channel is somewhat bigger than it was before. Like, somewhat a lot bigger. My last video that I posted 2.5 weeks ago blew up, and I've gained more new subscribers in the past 2.5 weeks than I gained in my first 1.5 years on YouTube. I am now closer to 1 million subscribers than I am to 0. And honestly, thanks to you guys, I just feel like my dreams are coming true. And to be quite frank, it is going to my head. It is what I deserve. I snapped on my last video. That last video, of course, was the first in this 3-part series about the 3 most high-profile people in this beauty community dumpster fire that's going on, and that one was about Jeffree Star, who has since released a video in which he apologizes and takes full responsibility for his actions. Look, I already gave my thoughts about Jeffree's apology over on my Twitter, where I give my thoughts on basically everything, but let me just ask you this. Why is Jeffree Star voguing in the thumbnail of every single apology video? Oh, hello, Karma. I have to laugh. Otherwise, I'd probably cry. Anyway, this video is about Shane Dawson, and then the third and final video will be about Tati Westbrook. Anyway, that's enough about me for now. Let's talk about this video. I put everything into it. I honestly feel like Alexander Hamilton while creating this.
Edit. Edit.
The reason it's almost as long as a feature film is because it's actually in 3 parts. In part 1, I want to look at Shane Dawson in the present. What is going on with Shane right now? He's lost 1.4 million subscribers, almost 1 million Instagram followers, and he's deleted over 1 billion views worth of videos from his channel. If the comment section in his last apology video is anything to go by, clearly something pretty big went down. Then in part 2, we're going to look at Shane Dawson in the past. I have to give a huge content warning for this entire video, but especially part 2. I really need you to understand how severe some of the things are in this video. This is not my normal YouTube video. I turned the advertisements off on this video, not making any money from it because I feel uncomfortable profiting off of this stuff. We're going to be talking at length about pedophilia, bestiality, and racism. So I didn't want to have to censor myself every time I would say that because I feel like the video would lose some of its meaning. I think you're going to see what I mean later on. Anyway, in the final part of the video, part 3, I'm going to show you how Shane Dawson from the past and Shane Dawson from the present are 2 different people. Not because he's changed or grown as he'd have you believe, but because the Shane Dawson that we're seeing today is a mask. And lately, that mask has been slipping. But without further ado, allow me to present the exact moment Shane Dawson's career ended. So part 1 will be our look at Shane Dawson in the present. In this section, we're going to look at the final 10 days before his career-ending livestream, and then why that livestream was so disastrous. Now, for those of you who don't know, Shane Dawson is one of the most popular YouTubers in the world, just known universally for being kind and genuine, and he does his best to live up to that image. Here's some fast facts you should know about Shane Dawson. He has over 20 million subscribers, he gets over 10 million views per video, and he likes to help people. Because he's an empath.
So I've learned I'm an empath, right? We're talking about that.
Did I mention?
Hey, red flag, empath? That stuff doesn't exist, dude. I'm not just kidding. But that shit's weird, bro.
He likes to help people.
Why do I want to get so deep with people and talk to people and try to help them?
Like I said,
it is really weird when somebody says that they like to help people all the time. You know what I mean? It's nice to help people. But I don't know. In my experience, it's a little weird when you constantly announce that you're helping people, it comes off like you're not helping people, you know, especially if you can monetize it or in some capacity, which I'm going to assume that he kind of did, right? If you can monetize yourself helping people, maybe you're not helping people that much. You know what I'm saying?
It's because he's an empath.
He shared with me that he was an empath and that he could feel all of my pain.
Don't ever forget that he helps people because he's empathic.
And I want to help them, all of that.
You're empathic.
So I'm an empath. I've heard that before.
After a certain point, it literally just starts sounding like a joke.
I want to help people, but I don't want to become the guy who's helping everyone. Everybody's like, oh God, Shane thinks you can help everyone. I don't want to become that, but it is.
Dude, he gives me the vibes. You know, the people who are always like, oh, like I can give really good relationship advice, but like I can't really go to like a relationship. It's like that guy. You know what I mean? It's like that guy. You know, they're like, they don't really give that good of relationship advice. They give you like commonsensical relationship advice that's generally not like super relevant because they don't understand the reason why you're engaging in things that you probably shouldn't. It's like, yeah, I stay with this person for this reason. It's like, well, you know, you shouldn't be with the person because they have this flaw. It's like, well, no shit. But like, I love the person, so that's why I stay. So it's not like super, it's not really, you know, you understand what I'm saying? Like, they don't really get it because they've never been in a relationship.
It's hard because I do always want to help people.
Are you done?
I hate helping people.
Are you done?
Shane Dawson is the kind of person who spends an awful lot of time telling you how kind of a person he is. And 95% of the people like that I've met,
When he helps people, does he get views for it? You know what I mean? Like,
just immediately recognize them to be terrible people right off the bat. And the other 5%...
I wouldn't say that they're terrible people. I would say that it's like definitely means that their reasoning for being helpful doesn't seem to be actually wanting to be helpful. That's what I would say more than anything else.
End up finding out later. Shane Dawson fits in that 5%. See, for the most part, his reputation as YouTube's nicest person in the history of the entire world, I guess, is largely intact. If you ask his 20 million subscribers, I'm sure most of them will tell you that they believe they're supporting a genuinely good person. But this whole time, there have been people on the sidelines like me who truly believe that Shane Dawson has just tricked all of these people with basic manipulation tactics.
Me, it's Keisha, Amanda, Hannah from Spanky Glow, like D'Angela Wallace, Angelica. We have all been going on and on and on about how problematic Shane Dawson is.
But regardless of this, Shane has always really nailed the balancing act of dealing with millions upon millions of adoring fans and balancing that with a very vocal minority who think there's some pretty horrifying things going on with Shane Dawson that nobody seems to be frank about. But every now and then, that balance flips.
My friend was like, oh, people like you right now. And I'm like, well, it comes in waves. Like every 2 years, people hate me. And I said, and it's ticking, like 2 years is coming. So like by tomorrow, something bad's going to happen.
Over the last like 7 years, I've once in a while, once a year, I get kind of a bombarded.
So it says that YouTuber denies rumors of
Something bad's
pedophilia.
going to happen.
Over the last like,
YouTuber stars Shane for apologizing. Shane Dawson apologizes for racist
7
videos.
years,
Okay.
I've once in a while, once a year, I get kind of a bombarded on Twitter with, Shane's racist, and they'll post screen caps and blog posts and all these things, and I ignore it.
As you can see, Shane Dawson, for the last 10 years, has been in a time loop where he falls in and out of public favor for things like racism and other things that we're going to be getting into later. But every single time he gets in trouble, he PR teams his way out of it pretty impressively. Every single time, except for this last time. And that's because relying on your default strategy of claiming everything bad you ever did was a joke and you didn't know was bad and you're actually a good person doesn't really hold up when you're letting people watch you do bad things in real time. So this live stream that Shane did marked the end of his series of unfortunate PR fiascos. And on its own, it's a mildly entertaining thing. Somebody did something weird online. I have strong opinions about that, which I share with you. And then the whole comment section talks about how good I am. Pretty standard stuff for my YouTube channel. But the issue is this situation is kind of deeper than that. It's kind of darker than that. From a glance, this whole live stream thing just seems like an isolated incident. But there is an undercurrent. Shane's losing so many followers because his nice guy persona was starting to unravel at the seams. And I want to look at exactly when that started. So to do that, we're going to have to go back in time. About 10 days before the live stream incident. So 10 days before the whole incident, Shane Dawson posted a statement to Twitter called "My Final Thoughts on the Beauty Community." And as you can see, it is kind of long. You can pause it if you want to read it, but I'll cover the important bits. It starts by saying, "Welcome to the circus," which I thought was not only extremely cringy, but kind of fitting because there's a lot going on and everybody is far too loud. The good news is, if you watch my Jeffree Star video, then you already have the context for what this letter was about. The first thing the letter covers is Shane Dawson's makeup collaboration with Jeffree Star is wildly successful. And the second thing the letter covers
I vaguely remember that, like a little bit. I kind of remember that, which is weird because I'm not really into the whole beauty thing. But
Tati Westbrook's video from last year called Bye Sister, aka a 40-minute hit piece on fellow beauty YouTuber James Charles. Now, because that Bye Sister video wound up working so conveniently in Jeffree Star's favor, and by extension Shane, since they were working together on makeup, people actually started speculating that maybe Jeffree and Shane had something to do with it. This was further—
well, I mean, now I'm assuming this video came out before we knew what we know now, which is James Charles is inappropriate with some people of an inappropriate age range. So, I think that The reason I think that it's relevant to bring that up is because I think this guy probably has a good reason to not like Shane Dawson. I'm not going to say he doesn't. However, if one of the factors of like, hey, I don't like Shane Dawson for this reason, and if one of those reasons is because of, he feels like he was operating, or he was like in on a conspiracy against James Charles, well, then it's like, well, considering some of those things seem to be true. Because I vaguely remember watching something like this a while ago where they talked about how what Tati Westbrook, I think her name is, how she was like, I don't know, she was in on a conversation about potentially James Charles interacting with Inappropriately, right? So I'm just saying, maybe it wasn't a conspiracy. Maybe it was just trying to expose the truth.
They're corroborated by the fact that, according to James Charles, he said that Jeffrey texted him informing him that Shane Dawson was one of the people who contributed to the...
We definitely need to talk soon. Tati and Shane plus a few others told me everything you have said about me over the last 6 months. I am heartbroken, disgusted, blah, 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 blah. This everything, but shockingly not surprised. I have been a great friend to you and never said anything bad about you. Okay, so that's James Charles. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure, and I could be wrong, that these were about allegations of interacting with inappropriate people.
The bad blood in the first place. So in this Twitter statement that he posted 10 days before the incident, he basically just addresses two birds with one.
Maybe that's why he pulled the video down. Maybe he realized, like, oh shit, like, you know what, now that this is true, maybe some of like the opinions I had were inaccurate. I don't know.
He says that he's leaving the beauty community because it's too toxic, even though he's somehow sticking with...
The beauty gurus are always involved in scandals all over the fucking same. They're all attention seeking and game playing, egocentric, narcissistic, vengeful, and two-faced, taking time bombs, and I'm over it. Yes, Jeffrey is on that list of traumatic gurus, and he'll always be family to me, and I love him despite the characteristics. He's very aware of the fact that I don't agree with many of the ways he approaches situations, and I have been very honest with him about needing to make some changes, but as for me being in the beauty world, I can't take the drama anymore, so I'm out. Okay, this seems fine. I mean, like, he's acknowledging that the beauty community is really toxic, which is probably true. And then he's saying, but I have this friend in the beauty community and we're still going to work together. Even then, I expressed my opinion that I don't like the toxicity that even they express. This seems fun.
Jeffree Star, who is more toxic than every other beauty influencer combined. And this part of the statement really did not sit well with people because, let's be honest, how can you leave a community you were never part of? The only reason Shane Dawson wasn't anywhere near a makeup palette was so he could make money off of the people in that community. And then once the heat got too hot, he just dips and calls them toxic on the way out. Then Shane tries to squash the rumors that he worked with Jeffree Star and Tati on the Bye Sister video to take James Charles down.
Did I warn James about the videos? No. Why? For that reason I discussed we privately on. Do you think that James is devil? No. Do I think he was a young, eccentric, power-hungry guru who needed to be served a slice of humble pie the size of the fucking marsupial? Yes, he has grown as a person since then. It really seems like it, and that's amazing. I'm truly happy. Okay. Do I think Tati's a villain? No. Okay.
He claims that he didn't have anything to do with the video, but insists that James Charles still deserved it because he was young, egocentric, and power hungry. It literally sounds like something from like a young adult fiction novel, but
I mean, maybe, man. Like, young people who get popular are worse than old people who get popular. You know, I've had my struggles with, like, and I'm not even like popular, so let's keep that in mind. But I even have my struggles with like social media shit. You know what I mean? Like, you don't do all the right thing all the time. It takes a while to understand that. So
those are his words: young, egocentric, and power hungry, and that he needed to be served a slice of humble pie.
It sounds just like.
Now, this is ridiculous for multiple reasons.
It's not. I think it sounds just like James Charles.
Chief of which being James Charles was 19 years old at the time, and everybody serving the humble pie was in their 30s. Also, the fact that Tati's video was mostly a lie in the first place. But what people really started thinking about was Shane Dawson is saying that James Charles needed this big humbling experience.
I don't like that. Like, one of the narratives.
But as you.
Oh, I forgot to get something that kills these fucking balloons. I'm gonna lose now, aren't I?
You know, probably.
I don't like the like this narrative of like, well, they're older, so it makes it like it's who cares how old the person is if they're getting exposed for doing something wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Probably from watching my older videos, Shane was far worse than James Charles was, even when he was older than him. So he started getting backlash, obviously, because nobody likes a hypocrite, but he actually specified that he didn't mean James deserved any hate, but then doubled down on the fact that James needed to be humbled. So when people inevitably called him out, he just deleted all of the posts, and claimed that he's too sensitive for Twitter. But by that,
I deleted everything. I'm done. For those who wanted me to address it, I did. I'm sure you can find it and repost somewhere, but I don't want this energy in my life for my talent. Too sensitive for this shit. Okay, I mean, like, I think it's kind of pathetic, but you know, whatever. At
that point, it was too late. So because he was so critical to James Charles in his attempt to kind of shine a spotlight over there, Makeup Twitter kind of shined the spotlight right back on Shane's face, and they started looking at his old content, and oh my gosh, the amount of videos that started coming out. If James Charles needed a humble pie slice, Shane Dawson needed a humble bakery. We're talking about blackface with like the slurs.
Oh, nigga, bitch, monkey woman, you're the best!
And as trashy as those racism clips are, a lot of people had already seen them. But what was new was a clip circulating that people found in Shane's old content, in which he was interacting very inappropriately with a child. It's this whole video where—
So the first thing I want to say is, like, obviously that's disgusting and racist. But what I will say is we focus a lot on the people who engaged in, like, making the content. For whatever reason, though, nobody talks about the people who consume the content. And it seems like the same people that want to cancel him for content they used to enjoy when the internet was a shittier place, those are the same people that want to cancel him now. Which seems kind of like shitty. Like, people aren't taking responsibility in like the content that they helped grow and they consumed because they thought that the edgy jokes were funny. It's obviously disgusting. The blackface is gross, but it was on the internet in a time where, for whatever reason, that was acceptable. When YouTube was a place where shit like that was bizarrely acceptable. And I'd ask, like, why was it acceptable on YouTube? Well, the audience on YouTube liked it. They liked to consume it, and they thought it was funny. And YouTube didn't care about racism being, like, an emphatic problem on their platform. I feel like we don't talk about that enough. It wasn't called out. It was, yeah, right, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that it makes him okay, but I'm saying that, like, in that time, nobody gave enough of a shit like they should have.
Where Shane and his girlfriend at the time, Lisa Schwartz, start talking to Shane's 12-year-old cousin Lucy about sex and giving her a bunch of creepy questions, like if she's got her period. It's gross, but we'll get to that later. I've seen some people on the
that sounds gross.
internet apologize for some crazy things, but never asking a 12-year-old to reenact sexual intercourse with a peep. So that was the first. Clip after clip after clip was coming up because people were mad at Shane Dawson, and that's what people do when they're mad.
But okay, obviously these are gross to ask your cousin. It was a girl, which is it makes it inappropriate. Like, but do we think that is there a reason, or do we feel like Shane Dawson wanted to sleep with their cousin? Is that what happened in the video? Because then it's really gross. It's grosser. It's still gross, but it's like one of those things where I feel like we decide not to consider intent when it's convenient. So we have this thing, there's actions and intents for everybody. Everybody commits actions, everybody has intents behind those actions, right? So for instance, let's say like I hit a guy. That's my action. And the action's bad for hitting somebody. Let's say my intent was because I just wanted to hit somebody. That's obviously bad. Well, let's say my intent was because like I thought that person fucking disrespected my wife. Well, it's not as bad anymore. It's still bad that I did that, but it's not as bad. And so it sounds like what it really just said was like, well, people were angry at Shane, so they wanted to try to deplatform him by intentionally ignoring the intents of his videos. That's what it kind of feels like he's saying. I'm not saying that. I'm not even saying Shane should have a career. I'm just saying that I feel like we shouldn't get rid of that understanding.
But in this case, it wasn't like old tweets where he was saying bad things. It was legitimately concerning things like this. So now Shane Dawson was in a bit of a pickle. People wanted answers for what he said about James Charles, so that's current controversy. People wanted answers for what he was doing with his cousin 10 years ago. That's old controversy, which in my opinion shouldn't even be called controversy. That's just—
oh, it's 10 years ago too?
Creepy behavior from—
yeah, it's like edgy, creepy behavior,
an adult towards an underage girl. But okay, so long story short, Shane was stuck between a rock and a hard place that he literally created because he didn't have to release the statement on James Charles in the first place. So after—
wait, but I keep losing. I'm getting mad. But wait, that's like so weird what he just said. Like, I don't like that.
Hard place that he literally created an underage girl. But okay, so long story short, Shane was stuck between a rock and a hard place that he literally created because he didn't have to release the statement on James Charles in the first place. So
like that's what really bothers me is the focus on like he created this issue because he talked shit about James Charles. And it's like, okay, so if I was somebody that truly thought that his interactions with like his young cousin were inappropriate, and I truly thought that the blackface was bad, I wouldn't hyper focus on disrespecting James Charles. Right? Like, why is like the main focus of this person seems to be talking shit about James Charles. And then everything else is just like, hey, there's ammunition to try to deplatform him. That's by this person's own admission based on the way that they decided to present those words. And since James Charles turned out to be a bad guy, wouldn't we? Yeah, I think it was before James Charles shit went crazy. Wouldn't that almost validate what Shane Dawson did? Wouldn't that? Because it seems there's just too much of an emphasis on that. Like, if we're gonna sit here and be like, oh, well, what he did with his cousin was gross, then why are we so focused on what the fuck he said about James Charles? Like, who cares about that? You know what I'm saying? Like in the context of like, oh, this minor shit is creepy. You'd think that that would be the primary focus here.
So after like 6 days of all these clips getting dragged up, Shane's response came in the form of what he knows best, an apology video. So we're now 4 days before the disastrous live stream, and Shane has just uploaded his video.
Well, what should he do? Like, I'm not trying to be an asshole. What? Okay, I don't like the framing. It's not like he said he gave a really dishonest apology. That would be fine. What he says is like, oh, well, he did what he does best. He does another apology. It's like, well, what is he supposed to do? Shouldn't, like, you know, maybe I'm focusing too much on this stuff, but isn't he supposed to apologize for shitty things? Isn't that the way the world works? You fuck up and you move forward. And when you live in a time where we're just like that, he grew up in a time, well, he grew up on YouTube in a time where like you put everything on the internet. So, you know, it's one of those very interesting things where something that I learned is that, you know, everybody's obviously an individual in their own individual sphere. And people in your own sphere understand what you're saying when you say something. I know it sounds weird, but you might be able to make an edgy joke and people will get it. Or you might be able to say a particular thing and not have to load it with a bunch of like pretext on why you're saying it and providing all like the critical nuanced reasons that you're saying a particular thing and all your personal experiences, right? When you talk to people on the internet, you don't have that. So like, for instance, I'm a blunt guy. I can be insensitive. I'm not insensitive because I want to be insensitive. I tend to be insensitive because like I was raised bluntly to speak clearly, concisely, and then to move on. So other people might interpret that as insensitivity, which is understandable. So I need to make sure that I monitor my language and make sure I explain everything that I'm saying accurately as much as I possibly can so that you understand what I'm saying, because you don't know me as a person and I can't expect you to understand me as a person. And it feels like we don't have that. So like, of course, you're going to fuck up even more on YouTube in the past when YouTube didn't care if you were being racist, because that's a factor, and your audience encouraged it. And then you apologize because like there was a lot of everybody was doing a lot of shitty things back then. So I'm just saying.
Called Taking Accountability. In this video, he clears up not just his Twitter statements, but also the really weird cousin clip that was circulating, and he knocks out the blackface while he was there too. Okay, look, just how do you get in this many controversies at one time? I totally understand being in like...
Well, you just explained it. You get into that many controversies because you talk shit about a content creator people like, and then they get upset. That's what you said.
A blackface controversy? I don't understand that. I'm not racist. But I can see how you could be in the blackface controversy. But then how are you also in like weird behaviors with minors controversy?
Jada Pinkett Smith, Jaden discussed it over Shane Dawson's clip. What did Shane do with Jaden Pinkett Smith? Or was that over the cousin comment?
At the same time. Honestly, pick a struggle. Anyway, Shane apologizes. He said that he's sorry for normal...
Well, okay, so the reason that he seems to be involved in multiple controversies at once is because these things happened a long time ago and nobody gave a shit back then. And so he never was held accountable for those things. That's like saying, how can you rob 3 convenience stores? It's like, well, okay, because you didn't get caught on the first 2. That's why. That would generally be the reason why you would get caught out on multiple things. That's all I'm saying.
Racial slurs, which it's about time, but it's a little late. But hey.
Blackface was something that I did a lot. Like, I did it a lot on my channel. And there's no excuse for it. There's literally no excuse. So I'm so sorry. I'm sorry that I added to the normalization of blackface or the normalization of saying the N-word.
After the racism apology.
Oh, okay. Wait, so he's showing us what he wants us to see from the video. His approach wasn't even like, from what I saw, Jane didn't even say like, oh, it was okay at the time. I thought it was okay. He just said I fucked up and it was really bad and there's no excuse. Like, that feels like a genuine apology. Okay.
He addresses the clip with his cousin.
No, I get it. Like, black people would obviously take that worse than a white person. So it's not like I could be like, oh, I'm always forgiven. All I could say is it feels like a genuine apology. You don't have to forgive him whatsoever. He's not entitled to that at all. I'm just saying that, like, when we talk about the genuinity of it, from my perspective, seem genuine. It doesn't mean that somebody else can interpret it as like worse damage than I'm interpreting it, obviously, because there's no experience. I had no experience with the N-word that, like, where it was used to diminish me, obviously, because I'm white. So I can't like, oh, I accept the apology, but I can look at it and say that feels like a genuine apology, fundamentally.
in a really weird way.
I saw a vlog clip of me and my cousin who was, I don't know, probably 12 or 13 at the time. And we were, I was doing the birds and the bees talk. Dumb, gross shit. And I remember a few years ago, I reached out to her mom, my aunt, and I was like, I'm so sorry. Oh my God, I can't believe I did this. Like, this is insane. I can't believe I talked to, my cousin like that. And, she was like, oh my God, we know. It's okay. It was funny. Like, we all thought it was funny. Like, that's just how our family is. So I kind of took that as like, okay, well, then I don't need to apologize for it.
But that makes sense, though. Wait, okay, so I was just talking about it before. Remember, saying different things to different people? In his sphere, with his family, that would be generally appropriate. Now, obviously, it's not appropriate to put it on the internet with different people in different spheres, different outcomes. It could have triggered somebody's past trauma as a child. We don't know. But the thing is that when you look at this from an intent perspective, this was completely okay with their sphere, right? So this would be something that maybe that you should probably keep to you and your parents. Like, you think it's a little funny, being a little too edgy, a little gross. Probably not put on the internet. But again, this was before everything was like monitored. You want the video of what he was doing with Will Smith? Yeah, sure. I don't know what they're referring to. Maybe this guy will get into it.
I do.
Our family is just like that has to be the worst explanation for creepy behavior around a kid.
I don't really think so, because it's not that creepy. It's just like it's just weird and edgy. I wouldn't like, unless you genuinely think Shane wanted to sleep with his own cousin. Unless that those are the vibes of the video, I don't think that you can, in good faith, say that it was like super creepy, at least with the morally loaded word of what creepy usually means. It's just like bizarre and like uncomfortable. I wouldn't necessarily call it creepy. If you get what I'm saying.
And then lastly in this video, Shane addresses his statements about James Charles.
So the part of the Twitter note that I regret more than anything in my life was the part where I said that James deserved a slice of humble pie the size of the Empire State Building. I only want to talk about this situation with love, because I feel like that
Shit, he did deserve it, though. That's the funny part to me. That motherfucker definitely deserves it. I know what you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? Okay.
Had so much anger in it. It was just not good. And so I'm going to come at this situation by first apologizing. Cool. I'm sorry, James.
And that was basically Shane's apology. There's a lot more in there because it was like 20 minutes long, but you can watch the full thing for yourself if you want.
It was only 20 minutes long? Well, compared to the fucking YouTube apologies I've seen, this seems like a pretty good apology so far. But maybe I'm wrong, but I'm going to listen to what you're showing me more than anything else.
I just picked the parts that are going to come up again later down the road. But yeah, with like the triple apology video, first of its kind, it was enough, or at least it would have been had he waited a little bit longer. See, when Shane Dawson gets called on to apologize for things, he always hyper focuses on like the one thing that he did and never the root issue. So he was so hyper focused on the clip with his cousin and just general statements about the weird jokes he used to make about children that he didn't realize downplaying it would turn out to be a lie, because somebody named Miss Hemlock on Twitter made a thread where they just compiled all kinds of video evidence of Shane Dawson's behavior around children back before he was in his current YouTube era, and it is disturbing. Now, this thread came out 13 hours before Shane Dawson's apology came out, meaning he didn't have time to see it and craft his narrative around it. So he wound up shooting himself in the foot because he acted like it was just like a weird one thing with his cousin. And
what? I mean, that's what, okay.
The other thing,
I mean, that's the thing that everybody was focused on.
Just offhanded jokes. But then this thread is full of him interacting with real children that are not in his household. That's a gross violation of...
What was censored? Was the kid naked or something?
Everything, basically. So I guess after Shane Dawson's apology video went up, he realized that more and more of these clips are coming out. So he privated 1.1 billion views worth of videos from his channel. It was like a last ditch effort to stop people from finding this old content, but he was far too late. The more views taking accountability got, the more retweets and eyes were on this thread where everyone could see how Shane was really interacting with these kids. But it kind of reached its peak when this video came out.
Is there a video of the way he interacts? Because I can't really just take what this person is saying as like, oh, this is it's probably inappropriate. But again, I think what's really important to also acknowledge, like, did he want to fuck? Okay, was his intention to try to sleep with the kids, or was he just being really inappropriate and thought it was funny? It is a factor. It's still disgusting and gross. But like we need to, like, there was claims of pedophilia. And so like you have to support those claims, and those claims would have to be supported through like attractiveness or attractedness. That's an important variable.
Of Shane and Willow Smith on a poster. You just have to watch the video. And again, I'm warning you, it's very upsetting.
Just watch.
Oh, Willow. Oh, I'll whip your hair back and forth. Oh.
So as uncomfortable as you felt watching that.
Yeah, that was definitely that was obviously fucking that was definitely very uncomfortable and definitely very edgy. But do we think that obviously that warrants the mother being like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Because that's disgusting. But My thing is did we think he wanted to sleep with her, or did he think he was being funny? And again, like I said, people were watching that and going like, haha, funny, I'm gonna signal boost this. Why, like, there's just, for whatever reason, there's no real accountability for the people who thought it was funny, and those are the same people that are trying to cancel him. I'm not saying it's okay. What I'm saying is it was like, what, 11 years ago, and it's like, okay, that's obviously gross that a grown man is walking up to a picture of a kid and going, oh, whip your hair back and forth. But does the intent predatory, or did he intend to be funny?
Imagine how Will Smith's mom felt watching that. And it turns out we don't have to imagine, because she saw the clip and she spoke up. So now we're only 3 days before the live stream meltdown, and Will Smith's family has just dragged Shane Dawson on Twitter for sexualizing children. Jaden tweeted out in all caps, "Shane Dawson, I am disgusted by you. You sexualizing an 11-year-old girl who happens to be my sister is the furthest thing from funny and not okay in the slightest bit."
That's a completely reasonable and expected response. Absolutely, yeah.
Shortly thereafter, the mother, Jada Pinkett Smith, tweeted out to Shane Dawson, "I'm done with the excuses." So less than 24 hours after his apology video where he thought he was in the clear, some of the biggest celebrities in the world just said, "No, we don't accept your apology or your excuses." By this point,
well, yeah, but of course they shouldn't. That's the family. Of course they shouldn't. It's so much. How the fuck did I lose? Of course they shouldn't, because that's very personal. Like, absolutely shouldn't, like, be letting him get away with that. But like, obviously, because they would be, like, additionally upset. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
So many people, in an effort to archive Shane's content, had sent so many clips, and people were making even more threads, by far the worst of which was this thread made by Kipelodian, which documented this show called Hey Millie, which we're going to get into later. But long story short, the show was about a fictional 8-year-old puppet girl character. They wrote this character to be constantly sexually abused and unaware of sexual innuendos that she was putting out. That was the entire concept of the show. And because Jaden and Jada Pinkett Smith are such high-profile celebrities,
wait, what?
They wrote this character into later, but
this guy's Dawson helped produce with the Fine Brothers. What is this about?
Long story short, the show was about a fictional 8-year-old puppet girl character.
Wait, what is it though? I have to kind of watch it, no? Puppet? What is this, like, exist anymore? Is there going to be an example of it?
New shocking
that they decorated saying, "Touch me."
Is this the right way to do it in a good way?
You could be a little more gentle. You know what we could do, Millie?
What?
Motorboat!
What's motorboat?
All right, Millie, that's it. That's all the mail we have today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Shannon. Now, hey, it's me.
If you want to leave me something, my P.O. box.
That's definitely weird. Okay, sure.
Yay! I can't wait for my birthday. I'm gonna have a big party. Everyone's invited, except my co-host, Rafathon.
Whatever, Millie. I don't want to go to your birthday.
Okay, enough of this.
We're going to get into later, but long story short, the show was about a fictional 8-year-old puppet girl character. They wrote this character to be constantly sexually abused and unaware of sexual innuendo.
What does that mean, that they wrote them to be sexually abused? Can you show me an example of that? I don't know. Okay, hopefully you show me an example of that.
Putting out. That was the entire concept of the show. And because Jaden and Jada Pinkett Smith are such high-profile celebrities, them calling out Shane Dawson made him wind up in the news. Just 3 days before this Instagram live stream, Shane wasn't chilling on his couch. He was literally in the news for sexualizing a child that happened to be a celebrity. He had just deleted 1.1 billion views from his own channel in order to stop people from fighting clips that they had found so many of, they were making threads of them on Twitter. He had posted a Twitter statement, that didn't work, he had to delete it. He posted an apology video, that didn't work because Jada Smith basically shot it down. I think for the first time in his career, Shane Dawson was out of options.
I feel like the claim that the character was being written to be sexually abused is like a really intense claim to not show, like, proof of. I mean, we need, like, the information. It feels, you know, we can't, I'm just saying.
And then Tati Westbrook,
it feels like a mischaracterization. I don't really know though, because he's not showing us examples. This is one of the problems that I have with commentary like this in general, is that you have to take the person's word for it who's making the commentary, and sometimes they could be making irresponsible commentary, and we don't really know.
Posted her video, and
he shows it later. Okay.
So 37 minutes before the live stream, Shane was in the hot seat, and Tati Westbrook posts a video called "Breaking My Silence." In this 40-minute video that she allegedly created with her legal team, Tati alleges that Shane and Jeffree did manipulate her, and they had a huge part in Bi Sister happening because they were jealous of James Charles. She makes
Oh yeah, but I don't care about the James Charles stuff because James Charles is like an asshole, and I'm pretty sure it had to do with like him talking to like young people. So
really disturbing claims about Shane Dawson too, claiming that she thought.
But the video's an hour long. You're saying I keep pausing it. Like, if he doesn't show it immediately after he makes the claim, I get, like, hesitant. Like, I think it's a very dishonest representation to talk about a thing and then not show something until a while later. This is a problem that I have with a lot of videos that they'll do, right? Is that, like, a lot of times they'll make a particular claim about something and then they won't show it for, like, 40 minutes. And it's like, okay, but you made the claim. And what ends up happening is that they make the claim so that we will believe it instantaneously without proof, and it primes us for whatever else we're seeing. So when you make a particular claim, you should instantly show the information that supports the claim. Because if we go based on what you're saying and what you're doing, and if you are not characterizing it correctly, then all of a sudden, like, you're being irresponsible in the way that you're priming your audience. Like, it would be a misrepresentation in the way that you're priming your audience. So that's why I'm like, where's the video? Let's see it now. Now, like, people are saying he deleted it for a reason. That could have been the reason, but
making the Bi Sister video might cause James to be suicidal, but Shane Dawson had assured her that he's too narcissistic to hurt himself. It was really, really disturbing stuff. And, you know, hindsight's 2020. I feel like Shane Dawson should have waited half a second and collected his thoughts. But nope, he went live on Instagram 37 minutes after it came out, meaning he didn't even finish watching it. And then this is the behavior he exhibited in response to that.
This is insane. This is insane. This woman is a oh my god.
It is not pretty. He shouts.
How is it that so many editorial outlets knew that something was coming before I...
Because you message drama channels! Oh my god. Oh my god.
He curses her out.
She is a fucking... I can't. I don't want to say mean things about people.
It's kind of hilarious, initially, just seeing the contrast of him trying to keep up his nice guy persona while pacing around his mansion and literally shouting at one of his former friends. But it stops being funny altogether when he starts calling her manipulative for bringing up her sexual abuse, and then mocks her and proceeds to bring up his instead.
As a victim of abuse myself...
Oh my god. You are so manipulative.
Think of facing public...
You're fake crying. You are fake crying. You are fake crying. That is not real. Oh my god.
Well, I mean, so far from what I'm seeing, like, dude, so I have a personal experience with this, so I'm going to bring it up because I have that personal experience with it, and I think that would be more responsible to do it. So I'm going to talk about, like, the Joe Robe situation. And what happened is Joe Robe actively didn't talk about, like, Joe Robe is a big content creator on TikTok with like 4 million followers, right? And there was another predator on TikTok, and I say another because it turned out he was one as well. But there was another predator on TikTok, and we were all talking about him. And during that, he said, like, oh, who cares? Like, he diminished my role in doing. He's like, who cares? It's easy to go after like a predator, blah blah blah. And then when people were like, wow, that's really fucked up, the first thing he pivoted to was like, well, I have my own trauma. And so it came off as like very disingenuous. And so there could be, and I'm not saying that there is, but there's the possibility that like she might be using her, and it's terrible, but she might be like, you know, bringing forth like her conversation about abuse and like weaponizing. And I'm not saying that she did. I didn't watch the video, and it'd be irresponsible if I did make that. But I believe that they were talking about my understanding, if I'm getting this accurate, is that they were talking about a situation with James Charles talking to people of an inappropriate age, right? That's my understanding of the situation. And so she might have felt like it was more true than it was at the time because of her past experience, which makes sense. However, we also have seen that it came out to be true, if I'm getting everything accurate. So I understand why she's saying that. I can understand why he's saying what he's saying back, though. Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I was molested. I have been. Oh my god.
It was pretty bad. And just as suddenly as it started, the live stream ended because Shane's fiance tells him to stop streaming.
That is not.
And I made no mention of it in my video.
Oh my god.
Get off.
The night before posting my video by sister,
oh my god,
I texted Shane sharing my concerns for James Charles, that he was out of the country on the high floor of a hotel, and I was afraid.
Get something to take care of.
The whole ordeal was less than 3 minutes long, but the damage had been done. At its peak, almost 250,000 people watched Shane in real time run around and discredit sexual abuse victims. And then people started reposting it. Between Twitter and YouTube, it's racked up millions of views, meaning millions of people have seen Shane Dawson's mask slip. And he hasn't said anything since. No apologies, no tweets, not even like a like. And that is how Shane Dawson wound up ending his career in 3 minutes or less. Now in Act 2, we're going to look at the real circus. It's not the beauty community or any of the current drama, but rather all of the things Shane Dawson has somehow managed to get away with. So we've seen Shane Dawson in the present. It's not pretty, he's not doing great right now, I'm sure he'll be fine. But now we're going to take a look at Shane Dawson in the past. We're going to get into what was actually in Shane Dawson's old content and why people are afraid to call it what it is, which is pedophilia, bestiality, and minstrel shows. Starting with the blackface. Shane Dawson said it best himself. Blackface was something that he did a lot. Like, he did it a lot on his channel. I saw someone tweet that Shane Dawson has done more blackface than actual makeup looks. Now, I found that pretty hilarious, but then I realized that is not an exaggeration. That is a factually correct statement. I know this really might surprise some people who think that there's no nuance to people who criticize things like this, but I do understand there is a difference between wearing blackface to dehumanize black people and wearing it because you thought it was funny, because your sense of humor is dumb or something. I don't know. And you can look throughout Shane Dawson's content yourself and see that he was clearly doing the former. Now, a lot of times when you bring up blackface or any of this stuff, people say it was a different time. And you know what? They're not necessarily.
Well, so I would just ask, and I just don't know. Did Shane Dawson do blackface to like diminish black people in a way where he's like, I hate black people? Like, is that the claim? Is that what we're saying here? Because if that's true, it's obviously terrible. I'm gonna lose again, aren't I? That's obviously terrible, but it seems like he just thought that the racial humor was funny. So like that's one of the that's one of the things about racism, right? So it's still racist either way, but it's one of those action versus intent racism, where he like, oh, he thought it was okay. And I'm not saying he should come back to the internet. Like maybe he should stay gone. I'm just saying that when we look at it versus action versus intent, like do you think that his intent was to be like racist, or do you think that he was just being fucking stupid and thought it was funny and it was inappropriate and it wasn't funny?
Necessarily wrong, but here's how I've been looking at it recently. Shane Dawson got his start in like the mid 2000s, and are there other examples of people doing blackface in the mid 2000s for comedic purposes? Yes.
He said it was because, okay, then I just misheard that. He said that it was because he thought it was funny. My bad.
Normal in 2008 to literally don blackface? Absolutely not. 2008 wasn't some mythical racism world where people just wore blackface and it was funny.
I don't know, man. Here's what I know is that the world evolved very, very, very quickly socially as the internet became more popular. I know that might sound weird, but like it really did. The world really changed very, very, very quickly. And one of those ways is that we understood racial insensitivity much better. I feel like a lot of people, especially younger people, don't understand how quickly like this online narrative changed, and rightfully so. And I'm not saying that it was okay. I'm just saying that like I'm not saying it was a mythical world where racism was okay. I'm saying that like online, for some reason, online was like was an unregulated space where all really YouTube really cared about was money, and they didn't actually like. I'm just wondering why people don't call YouTube out for not monitoring these, you know, because they wanted to make as much money as possible, so they didn't monitor these situations because they're like, well, people are watching, and God damn it, we haven't gotten any real complaints, so like, who cares? That's their interpretation of the situation. That's one of the things that I would talk about too. Like, why didn't YouTube stop it? It's interesting that we give so much shit to people, but like, why did YouTube let it go on for so long? Like I said, they didn't care. They just would they're very reactionary. They don't care about you or marginalized groups or really anything until there's public backlash. Nobody cares. They just care about the money. And I'm not saying that Shane Dawson was in the clear because of that. But what I'm saying is like people should be calling out these corporations for not caring about you until you bitch and moan. And I'm not saying that I shouldn't have said bitch, until you complain, justifiably so. You know, I'm just saying, I think it's something to keep in mind for context.
This was a thing that specific creators were doing and what am I away with for God knows why. But even at that, Shane Dawson's content is not just blackface, it's literal minstrelsy. Here's why I say that. Jimmy Kimmel has done blackface. Jimmy Fallon has done blackface. Robert Downey Jr. has done blackface.
True.
The Office, 30 Rock, Community. But guess what they were doing was actually completely different than what Shane Dawson was doing. Now, just so we're clear, I don't condone any of it. Maybe that's just because I know how to tell a good joke without painting my face. That's just me. But in all of the shows I named, black people were not the target of the joke. Again, blackface is still racist, and it's not racist just because you
I guess I get what he said. I guess I get what he's saying, because they were impersonating a person that happened to be black, and it wasn't because they were making fun of being black.
To be racist.
Okay, I guess
but if you
fair.
look at the context of each of those specific cases I just brought up, they were not wearing blackface so that they could make black people look bad. It was more so to reflect on the characters and how stupid they were for wearing blackface in the mid-2000s. Shane Dawson, on the other hand...
Well, Jimmy Kimmel was doing it to make fun of a black basketball player.
Every time he donned blackface, it was specifically to make black people look bad. It simply was not the same content that people compare it to when they say this was a thing at the time. The reason I keep saying it's like minstrel shows is because, for those of you who might not know, basically minstrel shows were this weird form of entertainment pioneered in America where white actors would paint their faces black, sometimes like just actually the color black, and they would give themselves exaggerated features, and then they would start parodying black people. And by parodying black people, I mean parodying stereotypes of black people, because behavioral traits are not determined by race, but hey, that's just a theory, an anti-racism theory. They would act stupid, they would act lazy, they would act greedy, you know, all the negative stereotypes, which are actually still associated with black people today, which should tell you something about how this stuff is actually harmful. That is the purpose of minstrelsy. And even I, as a black person who considers blackface to be offensive, I can say that that is not what was happening. That's not what Jimmy Kimmel was doing. That's not what Jimmy Fallon was doing. That's not what Robert Downey Jr. is doing. But
yeah, that's true. That's fair. Okay, that's fair.
That is absolutely what Shane Dawson is doing. The whole minstrel show thing is an idea rooted in white supremacy, and that's absolutely what Shane Dawson was tapping into for his humor style. He had a running theme across his channel that black people were less than, and they were always the butt of the joke, and they were always ignorant.
Nastiest cum face thing ever.
Almost as nasty as a black girl's hair on the back of a box. Shauna, I really want her to have a channel, and she has a lot of fans, and like, she doesn't know what she's doing, she doesn't know how to make a video, she's black, she doesn't even know how to, she just slaps her keyboard. So they...
Okay, well, yeah, after seeing that, yeah, okay, there's, yeah, I don't know. After we get into these specific examples now, I don't know how defensible this, I mean, I've made edgy jokes in my time, obviously. I mean, you know, fucking old person, you know, I was insensitive. I don't know, man. It seems a little too much. Big yikes, yeah.
So much so to where he had the black people in his skits act ignorant and dumb too.
And you'll always be my son.
Like, it's just like a weird thing. Because usually people who enjoy edgy jokes or like super edgy jokes they don't parade around and be like, hey guys, I really enjoy these really dumb edgy jokes. Usually people will like keep it to themselves. They'll understand like, hey, I shouldn't put that out for everybody to see. So yeah, I don't really know that you can just say it's just a joke. I feel like that's too much. You can be like, it's just a joke. I don't know, man. I don't know.
You're my family.
You can only excuse so much.
Are my niggas. What?
Oh no.
What?
So this idea, or this...
I mean, that one seemed like those black people were complicit on it. It's one of those things where some of it seems like that one seemed like, all right, so back in the day especially, like black people, I'm just gonna tell you, black people thought it was kind of funny when white people acted really fucking stupid. And like, you know, you ever see the Jamie Kennedy show or whatever, or like he pretended to be like a wankster. I forget what it's called. Malibu's Most Wanted, I think it was called. And like, so back in the day, people thought it was funny to see like an ignorant white person say like the fucking N-word with an A. That one seemed more like that. The other one though was just actively like, yeah, honestly. Hey, you got your dumb white kid. You got your dumb white person that like is a joke that thinks that they're black, you know. But the other ones were just super diminishing.
Narrative that Shane pushes that he's built his
white people acting stupid is always hilarious. My dude, my friends and I used to laugh so hard at Malibu's Most Wanted. Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Career off of edgy humor, not racism, absolutely does not hold up. I'll show you edgy humor right now. Edgy humor is this scene in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia in which what's-her-face puts on black or brown face or whatever you want to call it, and then starts trying to explain POC issues to a group of actual POC.
What are you doing?
Just go with it. Let me ask you something.
This is a more modern take, but okay.
Why we got to be the trash men and the maids and the gardeners? Why we got to live next to the trash dumps and the ghettos? We deserve better. When was the last time a white lady pick up after you when you threw your orange soda and your grape sodas on the ground?
You're losing them.
So what makes that funny is that like nobody's supporting what she's saying, I think, more than anything else. That it's like the context that it's not appropriate. That's what makes that would make that funnier.
I personally think it's funny. In concept, yes. In execution, no. It's very cringy. But this, on the other hand, is something Shane Dawson made in a similar time period, is literally just blackface.
And that ghetto tacky ass weave she got from the corner store. And that face, ugh. She got a face of a beast.
Look how similarly Shane puts himself up compared to these images of actual minstrel shows. Basically,
yeah, I feel like these are, yeah, these are I don't think these are particularly defensible here. Okay, well, you know what? Okay, you probably shouldn't come back.
Shane Dawson
You
pioneered.
can really only forgive so much, but like, how the fuck do you excuse like that? Like what's the? I don't, that's too much to me.
Minstrelsy in YouTube. He revived it because why didn't we need that? So in like the mid 2000s, early 2010s, Shane Dawson's content had already become a pioneer of anti-blackness. And by the way, I'm only speaking about my experience as a black person. I've read tons of people in other groups explain that he was literally doing the same thing there too, but I can only speak from what I know. So that's what I had to say about the blackface, or as I'm just going to call it, the minstrel show that Shane Dawson was running on YouTube for children. Now we have to have a conversation about the bestiality. Now I know a lot of people get really antsy when
it's really indefensible
that
Jesus
bestiality
Christ.
happens, but it happens.
Did he fuck his cat? What happened?
Like all the problems that he runs into, namely racism, bestiality, and pedophilia, he has quite a history with it. He repeatedly gets in trouble for the same things every single year. In this case, the peak of it was when a podcast clip from, I want to say 2015-ish, started circulating, in which he talked about sexually molesting his cat. Now, in his infamous, I did not...
Okay, I guess we gotta read this. Fuck. I didn't fuck my cat. I didn't cum on my cat. I didn't put my dick anywhere near my cat. Okay, Jesus Christ. Fucking Lord. Okay, let's just see what he has to say. Jesus Christ. Okay.
Do anything to my cat tweet that wound up becoming a meme. Shane alleges that this was a joke. And the reason I'm saying he alleges that
what's
it
the
was a joke
joke?
is
Let's watch
because
it.
there's a bit of gaslighting going on there. I found the original episode that cat thing is from, and I listened to it. At no point does Shane Dawson say, hey, this is a joke.
One time, I laid my cat down on her back.
Are you gonna get arrested for this?
I don't know. No.
Think about it.
I don't think so.
Okay, go ahead.
I didn't penetrate. I laid the cat down on her back, and then I moved her little chicken legs, like, you know, spread open or whatever. And I was like, if I just like hump, but like on her tummy, like that's not weird, like whatever. And then I humped it, and it kept going, and I came all over the cat.
No, you did not.
It was like my first sexual experience.
No
I was also
way.
like 19, so it's like, you know.
Wait a minute.
Wait a second.
How old was this guy when he did this to his cat? Was he like 10 or was he like a grown man?
Did you just say you came on a cat?
Guys, I think I have to put money on the meter.
Yeah, right?
But you know, who likes cats? I never did anything like that. Well, I never did anything crazy like that.
Maybe that's why.
So people listening to that believed it. And now, years later, he tried to say, well, y'all are ridiculous for believing that. Why would you, how dare you believe me? Also, I demand that you believe me in this moment when I'm telling you that what I said then wasn't true. It's classic manipulation. Now, do I think Shane Dawson, you know, did that to his cat? It doesn't matter because he...
Well, I do. I feel it sounds like he did that to his cat when he was younger because maybe he didn't know any better. It depends on his age. He said he was 19. Oh, then I just didn't listen. He was 19? All right, never mind. Fuck me, dude. Holy shit.
He's on camera.
Okay, I should have listened better. He said he was 19? I thought he was like fucking 8. And he was like, I didn't know what I was doing. He said 10? Or wait, what are you talking about? 10 or 19? He said 10 in the clip. Why is everybody saying 19 versus 10? What's the truth? How come everybody's like going? Some people are saying, okay, we're gonna rewind.
Into it. At no point does Shane Dawson say, "Hey, this is a joke."
One time, I laid my cat down on her back.
Are you gonna get arrested for this?
I don't know. No.
Think about it.
I don't think so.
Okay, go ahead.
I didn't penetrate. I laid the cat down on her back, and then I moved her little chicken legs, like, you know, spread open or whatever. And I was like, if I just like hump, but like on her tummy, like that's not weird, like whatever. And then I humped it, and it kept going, and I came all over the cat.
No, you did not.
It was like my first sexual experience.
No
I was also
way.
like 19, so it's like, you know.
Wait a minute.
Wait a second. Did you just say you came on a cat?
Guys, I think I have to put money on the meter.
Yeah, right?
But you know, who likes cats? I never did anything like that. Well, I never did anything crazy like that.
Maybe that's why.
So people listening to that believed it.
When did he say that he was 19? I didn't even hear him say 19. How the fuck are you people hearing the word 19? What am I missing? I must be like fucking dumb. Okay, he was 19. Okay, I don't even know. I was literally listening. He said it so fast. That's probably why I didn't pick up on it. My old man ears didn't pick up the frequency at which he was. Okay, so he was 19. Oh, well. Yeah, jail. What are you doing, dude? Okay, I believe you guys when you said 19. Boomer dude, I literally didn't hear it twice. He said it while he laughed. I guess he talked too fast. I was 19. Well.
Now, years later, he tried to say, well, y'all are ridiculous for believing that. Why would you, how dare you believe me? Also, I demand that you believe me in this moment when I'm telling you that what I said then wasn't true. It's classic manipulation. Now, do I think Shane Dawson, you know, did that to his cat? it doesn't matter because he is on camera doing so many other weird things to animals and nobody talks about it. First of all, he would post pictures of his pets, his own pets, to his Instagram with poses implying that they were sexy or that he was going to have sex with them. And he would do this a lot. There were a lot of Instagram posts of him implying that he wants to or just finished having sexual relations with his pets. So when you start considering that, with the fact that everyone believed him when he said he did that to his cat, it starts seeming really ridiculous how he managed to trick us all into thinking we were crazy for believing it in the first place. Of course, it could still be argued that they're just captions about wanting to have sex with your dog, but he would also pose with them suggestively.
I mean, at this point, it's just indefensible. Like, what am I supposed to say? Well, maybe he was joking. Maybe he was joking, but what the fuck? I just feel like, what the fuck? How is there so many things to defend? Okay, well, I understand why this person doesn't. Okay, hey.
He would just do really creepy stuff.
It's just his humor? Maybe. I don't know, man. Like, there's so much here. It might just be his humor, but, like, he also probably shouldn't be expressing that much of his humor. If it's... Okay, let's just say it's just his humor. Why was he so comfortable with, like, all this really weird humor? Like, too much. He was wearing cat face. Very funny. It just seems like too much. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, like, a couple of, like, out-of-pocket jokes are like, okay, you fucked up, but, like, it's a consistent pattern, man.
He was literally trying his hardest to give us the vibe that he has sex with his pets.
All right, you guys, I'm going to go. Muffins is already asleep over there, so I'm going to go join her. And we're going to have a wild cat night.
Are you ready to dance?
Yeah, like, it's probably a joke, but, like, it's just fucking weird at this point.
Okay, really quick, I just need to point it out. Oh no, he's obviously ready to have sex with me. Dirty little dog.
But worst of all are the videos of him just actually sexually harassing animals. And I have to give you the biggest possible trigger warning I could ever give. This is like not safe for life. Honestly, just don't watch this. I'm just putting it in here so that you guys know that I'm not making stuff up.
Can I make out? Want us to think about having sex with animals at a young age because that fucked me up.
Oh yeah, daddy likes.
I'm sorry. I don't think
the first one I was like, all right, whatever. Like, who hasn't jokingly like fucking done that with their dog? No, but like when I was younger, like I didn't really know any better, so I thought that the dogs were licking me, and I was like, oh okay, like I'll lick you back. It's funny, haha. But then also he just went to like fucking suck his dog's dick or whatever. So I mean, we're kind of past the point of redemption here.
Oh my god. He does this every...
How did this guy become the most popular fucking person? Why does he have so many animals to fuck? What the hell? Alright, well. Alright.
I have never seen a human being with such a large platform that has video evidence of them treating animals this way.
Oh, well, the dogs were 18 in dog years.
I legitimately don't understand how he's gotten that far. I think a huge part of it is kind of like with the minstrel show stuff. People don't want to talk about it. I'm going to be fully honest. Maybe. I didn't want to talk about that just now. That's gross.
Dude,
that's gross that I have to edit it. That's gross that
I don't care.
More people are now aware of this. But I feel like I didn't do my due diligence before because I threw a couple of clips in there similar to this in my last video and people kind of glazed over it. I really need you to understand what I'm saying here. Shane Dawson sexually harasses animals. That's not allegedly. I really can't get in trouble for describing what I am showing on screen. So this idea that it's ridiculous that we believe him for allegedly doing things to his cat, he's trying to distract you from the fact that these clips exist. This is a real human being who does this to animals and he still has a platform. Also, if you're wondering if I'm advocating for deplatforming, no. Not until we get to the children stuff. Let me just get one thing out of the way, since we're being so frank in this video. I am not calling Shane Dawson a child rapist. I feel like so many people were like, you can't call him a pedophile, you can't do that, okay? Yeah, he's not a great guy, but you're gonna ruin his life if you call him that. No, I'm not calling him a child rapist, because do I think he's raped a child? No, and if I did, I would not be making a video about this, but you don't-
Okay, so I guess he's making the differentiation between like a pedophile that's attracted to children versus somebody who actually molests children. Okay, I mean, that's fair. That's a real thing. There is a difference. Okay.
I have to rape a child to be a pedophile. You just have to display sexual attraction to children or use children in sexual situations. So again, Shane Dawson is not a child rapist, but he is absolutely sexually exploiting children for his profit in his videos. Okay, before we get into that, we could just talk about the jokes he made. He would make frequent...
Hey, sounds like TikTok, am I right, guys?
remarks that he was just going to rape children. He would joke that he is a pedophile. He would just say that point blank.
God damn it,
he would joke that he's not a pedophile. He would make jokes about collecting child pornography.
Have nightmares? What are they about? Mine are always about somebody breaking into my house and taking my computer. But then it always scares me because I'm like, if somebody stole my computer, you know how much blackmail they would have on me? I mean, the fact that I haven't been on To Catch a Predator yet is like a miracle. All right, now it's time to see some hot, sexy bitches wearing my Hot Topic shirts.
He looks like Onision.
Damn. Oh, if Justine wasn't watching, I would rape all of you.
What the fuck? Jesus Christ. Honestly, after watching as much as I've watched, it feels like it just feels like he has like a really edgy sense of humor. Because I'm not... Jesus Christ.
I'm gonna fuck him. I'm gonna fuck her. Then I'm gonna fuck him. Then I'm gonna make him react to it.
All of this...
Yeah, it seems like he has a really bad sense of humor. That's honestly what it is. I mean, it's indefensibly bad, but it seems like that was like his whole thing. He, at the end of it, he just shouldn't. I mean, he probably shouldn't have a platform.
In my opinion,
at this point,
is completely unacceptable behavior. But none of it necessarily involves children. They're just all things that a sick individual could say, and it wouldn't really affect anybody. However, the way he used children in his videos should never be excused.
In the family,
and
maybe.
I honestly cannot sit here and let people normalize this and say that this was a normal thing that was happening. Just watch this.
You, where'd you get your pants at? Look, it's like little Shanae. H&M, girl. Ooh, that sounds dirty. That sounds rough. H&M. Good job, Lucy. But next time, shake your titties more. And you, take off the jacket and show more. And Lucy, I checked my statistics, and I have a lot of child molesters watching. So can you please eat a cocktail weenie? Do it slow. Oh.
Oh, I like that chocolate, that weenie.
Okay, give her a lap dance.
Oh my god!
I blow everybody a kiss like you're a mermaid. That was the worst kiss I've ever seen. That was terrible. I would never have sex with you. Titties. Oh, man. Man, 12-year-old. Oh, chocolate's getting in them. I didn't know 12-year-olds develop that fast. Wait, let chocolate lick your boobs. Look at.
Yeah, I mean, dude, this is what these are like. What are these? His family. This is one of those things where it's like it seems like his family thinks this is appropriate too. As like just some goofing around. So that probably enables him to do it. Plus, he probably got like positive attention for making this content. So it's a lot of those people too. It's uncomfortable, yeah.
Wow.
On multiple occasions, he would have them simulate sexual actions, even going on to joke that it was for the benefit of the child molesters that were watching him. There are just so many of these clips, and it's not okay. The way he would make these children act in these videos is also deplorable. That's something that Shane Dawson has not taken responsibility for. The most he said is that he used to make bad jokes about kids and have them do weird things in skits, and he regrets it. But until
I think that that's his. I honestly do think that that's how he feels, though. Like I don't think that. So I don't think that Shane Dawson was making this content as like an expression of his pedophilic desires. I think that's a stretch. I would honestly argue that like usually if you were a pedophile, you probably wouldn't joke about it because you probably wouldn't want people to actually find out. I doubt he actually like the whole like, oh, I'm afraid people take my computer because they'll find like CP on it. Like I doubt he has any CP on his computer. I'm just saying it doesn't seem reasonable to make the assumption that he actually is attracted to kids. My understanding is Shane Dawson's gay. I doubt he's attracted to young girls, which he made a lot of the jokes about. That doesn't make it appropriate, and that doesn't mean that I think he should come back, but I think that we should keep that in mind for context. Because I think that we're trying to draw this line that like he's legit attracted to children. I don't think. Is he bi? Okay, then fuck me on that point. He's bisexual? Okay, my bad. I thought he was gay. Whatever. Anyway. I just don't see the actual sexual attraction.
Shane Dawson can actually admit to doing the behavior that I am showing on screen, he has not even addressed that this stuff exists in the first place, which is extremely disconcerting. The worst part for me personally was just all the photos and videos that involve him actually touching these kids or like looking at them inappropriately.
We are here with a Latino version of the girl from Paramore.
How old is you anyway?
13.
You 13, okay.
I don't buy it. Come here. Get over here. Give me a hug. Breastfeed. Take a sip. Take a sip. Take a sip.
I don't know what's going on here.
So much milk.
Actually, I'm sure there's more milk over there. Can you please breastfeed?
I was dating women when those skits happened. I didn't even know that. Yeah, I never said that it wasn't messed up. What I'm saying, okay. All right, somebody said just because he's not attracted to them doesn't mean that it isn't messed up. I never even said that. I quite literally did not say that. What I said, I've been consistent about, like, we have to take the action and the intent separately. Like, you need to contextualize all that. So I don't think that he's trying to hit on children. It is disgusting. But, like, if you're going to call him a pedophile, then you have to back that up. And so far, I'm not seeing anything where he's, like, actively attracted to children. Again, it seems like he has a really edgy sense of humor, and this is what's on display. It doesn't make it right. I'm just saying that, like, saying someone's a pedophile is a very serious claim, and I don't see that it's supported. It's probably why he pulled the video down.
With Shauna, please? That would make...
There's a ton of photos he released for a meet and greet where he thought it was a good idea to pose sexually with every single kid at the meet and greet. Just absolutely inappropriate. On top of that,
for sure. Why did the parents think that was okay? That's like I'm just a separate conversation. I would assume that these parents of these young kids would bring them there. Why did the parents think it was okay? Why did the parents let them take those pictures? That's like a bigger issue for me more than anything else. I would have hit him. If you do that with my daughter or my son, I'll fucking hate you. So I'm like, it's one of those things where it's something to bring up for context. Why did the parents think that was okay?
One of his 12-year-old fans on the lips at her request.
Okay, ready? All right. 3, 2... Okay.
Some people even have the audacity to say, well, she asked for it. She was a 12-year-old girl. Shane Dawson was in his 20s. I think he was older than me. You know, if I kissed a 12-year-old girl, there would be no leeway for me. I really don't understand why more people are not talking about this kind of thing. On top of that, he swapped gum with some 15-year-old kid.
Okay, so please explain what you want me to do.
I want him to do that gum and then give it to me.
In your mouth?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Oh my god!
Yes, I'm going to jail.
It's already disturbing enough that Shane Dawson saw fit to record this content and put it out for the world to see him doing this behavior. But then it just gets more disturbing when you find out that there's content that he didn't even record. These are things that he might not have even known were being recorded. Videos of him in video chat rooms with kids in them. And I'm not talking about live streaming. I'm not saying like he was live on his channel and he was saying adult things. I would never blame somebody for that kind of thing. I'm talking about just like tiny chat, like Omegle, where you can see exactly who you're talking to and it's only a few people at a time. There were tons of kids in there and he would have sexual conversations.
I'm so sweaty right now. Like, can you see my pants? Can you good enough? I was like itching myself and I'm not wearing any pants. But now I realized that on camera. This is a bad idea. Anytime I do tiny chats, I always say something or show something inappropriate.
By far the worst out of all of this though, Shane Dawson had this Daily Booth page. And Daily Booth is now this defunct website. Basically on Daily Booth, you post an image and then people can reply with their own images. So if you go through Shane's Daily Booth page, you see that a lot of his posts were pretty normal, but then some of them were explicitly sexual things he was asking for. He was asking a lot of his posts were pretty normal, but then some of them were explicitly sexual things he was
Show me your crotch.
asking for.
Show me your knees. Why is that inappropriate? Maybe I'm missing something here. Is it to make your knees look like boobies?
He was asking his
I deboothed this because I wanted to see your scars, flaws. Yeah, that's a little weird. Wait, is that a scar that he has? Why is this one inappropriate? I'm only asking. Is thigh pictures? Oh, is it? Okay. Wait, so he has a scar here? Do we think that this is predatory? Why would we think that? I don't know what deboothed means. This because I wanted to see your scars and flaws New Year's. That might be a little weird and inappropriate, but like it looks like he's showing a huge sweat. Why does he have this scar here?
His audience to do their best.
I'm filming a porn and you're the star. Okay, that's obviously that's just indefensible.
Giving.
Show me your creepy rape face. That's obviously gross.
Birth pose.
I think that how the fuck did it skip that much? I think that the one where it's like I'm filming a porn is the worst. Show me your mouth. Haha, PS new second channel video. Yeah, that's weird. Reminds me of what's the guy from Nickelodeon? What's that guy from Nickelodeon that would get feet a lot? He would make feet pics a lot. That's the guy that I'm thinking of. Yeah, there's a lot of red flags when you put it together. Yeah, that's fair. He used to be 400 pounds. Okay, Dan Schneider. Yeah, it's giving me the Dan Schneider vibes. Yeah. Show me your feet. Ha ha ha. Okay, that's great. Yeah.
He's asking them to do their best.
Show me your blowjob face. What the fuck?
Blowjob.
Make your drugged up face.
He was
This is my sex wink.
asking them to do their
Make some big lips.
best porn star move.
Show me your orgasm face.
And-
What's the biggest spit bubble you can make?
And these
Yeah, you know what? So through some of these, it gets like a little weird because it's like, show me your spit fit. Like some of these are like not explicitly bad, but then when you think of it, it's like, well, why are you asking kids to make spit bubbles for you? You know what I mean? It's like, why are you doing that? That part's weird. And even the scar one, when you think about it, it's like, well, why are you asking kids to show scars? Like, you know, it's is it under the hopes that they have like a scar on their fucking stomach or like on their chest? You know what I mean? I don't know. Yeah, these are definitely weird.
are children. There's
Viewer orgy time. Okay.
no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He was asking children to submit him these pictures. Granted, he didn't say kids, but he didn't put any sort of 18 plus warning on there. And on top of that, the reason I can say he was asking kids for these pictures is because he not only knows.
Well, he seems to know that he has a fucking child audience. He kissed a 12-year-old in the mouth, so that's obviously disgusting.
That his audience is young.
As a YouTuber, the only pussy that's getting thrown my way is 12. So I can't touch it.
Illegal.
Legally.
Do you have fans who want to fuck you? Like young, like a lot of these young girls, like 12.
Yeah.
Oh, she have a cock in my mouth, like all this stuff. They'll like grab my butt, and I'll hear them like, I touched his ass. Oh, I wanted to fuck my pussy, or whatever.
He
Wow. That was intense.
caters to a younger audience, or he did in that time period. This was an intentional thing that he was doing. It's simply abnormal behavior that needs to be addressed by Shane Dawson. On top of that, he would interact with famous kids in a really weird way. He would just make jokes.
Me and Rebecca Black, we finally had our first date. So romantic. So, okay, that's a little weird.
Dating them, saying things like,
How old is Shane Dawson? I don't know why I'm yawning so much. Because Shane Dawson sucks. He's 33 now, so he's 23 back then. She's 24. Okay, so what? That's 7. Is that 7? Oh wait, no, that's fucking 9 years older. So they were like 14. Holy shit. Okay, yeah. It's weird that he's so comfortable. That's the weird part, is that he's so comfortable with these types of interactions with kids.
like underage weirdness, and he would touch them weirdly, and just he was the one taking pictures of this and uploading it himself. He had common targets like Fred, for example. He explains how he was under the impression that he was sending sexual text messages to Fred, a 14-year-old, and that he was planning to go over there so that they could have sex. And again, I'm positive that if he was called on this, he would say that this is a joke, but listen to how he
it might be.
It's
just
like 5 years ago. I haven't talked to him about this. It was like
Jesus Christ, why is he talking so fast?
5 years ago, and he followed me on Twitter, and he's like, "Oh, I saw your Fred is Dead video." I'm like, "Oh, cool, whatever." And then he goes, "So, do you want to like talk on AIM?" I didn't have an AIM, but I said yes, and I made one. And then we started talking, and I was maybe 19, and he was probably like honestly like 15, I don't know. And he was just like, "Yeah, you live in LA?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Where?" And I was like, "North Hollywood." He's like, "Oh, I'm here right now." I'm like at a hotel, and I'm like, "Oh," and he's like, "Yeah, we should like hang out." It was like 1 a.m. I was like, "Oh," and then I was like, "Oh, isn't that kind of weird?" And he's like, "No, it's cool. It's just my sister, and she's cool with anything. She's asleep." I was like, "What's happening?" So I told my mom, who was like watching Nancy Grace. I was like, "Mom, I think Fred is trying to fuck me," and my mom's like, "I'll drive." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, that YouTube Monty." So then I was just like setting up them hangout, and then I said something. I made like a really, really gross joke about like blowing him or something because I thought it was going there. Right. And then he blocked me, and blocked me on Twitter. Blocked me on everything. Wow. Deleted every tweet he had sent.
Wait, that's what the fuck? Wait, okay, so this is the story that he just told. So he told the story where like this Fred guy was like, "Oh, I want to meet you at 1 a.m," and Shane Dawson thought it was going to be a sex thing, so he made a sex joke. So you don't even get plausible deniability at that point. You literally are saying like, "Yeah, I wanted to fuck this kid." Okay.
Me, and I was just like, I went too far. We never talked about it, and then I met him 3 years later, and it was cool. And now it's like this weird thing where we're friends, but I want to be like, were you trying to fuck me? Yeah. Also, were you trying to catch a predator? Like, what was happening?
Yeah, what was going on?
I don't know. And then he came out. So
and then he said to catch a predator. So wait a minute. Okay, this is where it gets really revealing. So he said, like, were you trying to set... When he says you were trying to catch a predator, he's saying, like, were you trying to set me up? So it's like, wait, so you knew that the age was inappropriate, and then you still tried to test the waters to see if he actually want to fuck you. Is that not weird as shit?
I guess maybe.
He did, so maybe he was.
I don't know.
There is no setup. There's no punchline. There's no indication that he's not being serious. And in conjunction with all this other stuff that he has done that is on camera, It's just incredibly disturbing. Another child that he was constantly inappropriate about was Rebecca Black when she was a kid. Listen to the things he would say about her, and he would prompt his friends into saying about her.
Who's Rebecca
I gotta like go slower on when he talks.
Black?
I want to suck Rebecca Black's
Titties?
real bad.
That's what I wanted my mom to say.
My most popular video is my Rebecca Black parody, and I've never met her. And you did.
She's amazing. You're missing a lot. Like, she's gorgeous and amazing.
Besides that, what
Huge
does she got going for her?
Besides your breasts.
And he would also make...
Yeah, I don't know, bro. Listen, I'm not trying to be loaded, but at this point, I kind of feel like Shane Dawson's a fucking predator. Like, that's the vibe I'm getting. After watching the way that he talks about Rebecca Black, and after the fucking way that he explains that he wanted to fuck Fred, I don't know, dude. Like, we're far beyond the point of defensibility here. I'm not saying he is one, but I'm sorry. That's where we are. That's where we're at. This is where we're at right now. Oh, what the hell is that? What is annotations? I don't know.
Jokes about dating her, etc. And then another person who couldn't seem to escape it was Leah Marie Johnson.
Or maybe he's not a predator, but he seems to be attracted to kids. Well, I don't know. With the way that I don't know, dude. I don't know. The way that he interacts with kids, I don't know.
And this one was just extra disturbing to me personally, because according to Shane, he's known Leah Marie Johnson ever since she was 6. And then he made jokes about ruining her.
My first acting thing ever was, before I was even a YouTuber, was like some YouTube video with the Fine Brothers. I was just an actor on Craigslist. And she was there and she was like 6 and she sat on my lap. What? Fucked her good. Kidding! I ruined her.
It's just ultimately very distressing stuff.
He said that she sat on his lap and then he ruined her? Wait, what is the implication there?
On my lap.
What?
Fucked her good. Kidding! I ruined her.
It's just ultimately very distressing stuff to...
It's like we could potentially separate the jokes from a lot of this shit, or we could say like, oh, this is just a joke. But then he personalizes a lot of these interactions. It's just like weird. It's one thing if it's jokes, but then he's like in person kissing kids, spitting gum into their mouths and shit, like trying to fuck Fred. Like, what the fuck?
See that this was so blatant and nobody did anything about this. It wasn't because it was okay. I legitimately don't think people realized what was happening. So that's Shane and his despicable behavior around children, which he's still taken no accountability for. And by the way, like I said, he constantly gets in trouble for these things. He had started catching flack a couple years ago when statements he made in a podcast were resurfacing, making the rounds again, about looking up child porn and calling a child sexy. And Shane Dawson's claim was that this was edited out of context to make him sound bad.
The podcast, I mean, there's so many clips that people are bringing up. So there's a clip that has been going around again. A few years ago is when it came out. And they cut out all the parts where I said, pedophilia is disgusting. And they put it together, and it made it seem like I was, talking about how it's normal. It's so gross. I would never say that.
So I am going to play this clip in its entirety. It's a little long, but because he claims that it was edited to make him look bad, I literally have to play this full thing so you can understand that he was lying. This is what he said.
What is Kim Kardashian? Is she half black?
No, she's Armenian.
Okay.
No. Is she what Rebecca Black is? They look similar.
I don't think we were asked
Rebecca Black has made a little less of a sex tape. She hasn't had sex with as many black guys. She did probably with that guy in that
She's
van.
15. Stop it.
She's growing up.
I know the black guy that he's talking about, like the one that like produced the videos or whatever.
She's almost
He's
16.
not.
She told us, when I asked her, I said, how old are you? She said 15. I said, that's so young. She's like, I'm almost 16. As if when she turned 16, we could talk about dicks to her.
Yeah.
Probably not.
No.
Well, I have an UGG.
Oh, okay. Excuse
Now,
me.
this is an UGG that I just realized
Patrice Wilson,
a few days ago. I was with Lisa, and we ran into a child. I'm not going to say why or how, but we ran into a child.
Like in your, wait, hold on. In your
With my car, I hit
like,
the child.
Okay.
It was dying on the side of the road,
Okay,
and I
great.
said, oh, I should probably ask what its name is. No, but this child was probably 6 years old. And I was taking a picture of something, and the kid turns to me and goes, oh, are you Instagramming? And first of all, how does a 5-year-old, 6-year-old know what Instagram is? Which is terrifying. Second of all, I was embarrassed because, yes, I was, and it was a picture of my salad. So then,
that's the plantation
Yes,
salad. I saw it. Looked amazing.
And the 6-year-old girl goes, oh, how many followers do you have? I mean, first of all, it was almost like one of those contests where it's like, how big is your dick? And this kid slapped her huge dick on the table and was like, a 6-year-old who goes, oh, I have 125,000.
No.
Her dick was almost as big as mine.
Really?
And I said, okay, little big dick, why do you have so many followers? And she goes, oh, I'm a cheerleader. And I'm like, oh, really? And she shows me her Instagrams, which are like, first of all, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but like, she's like sexy.
You're disgusting.
I know. Listen, we've talked about pedophilia
No, this
before.
is Shane. Like, do not say this. And like, I don't even want to talk about it. Like, you will get arrested. Like, he kind of can.
Listen,
he has this
allegedly.
justification for pedophilia,
Okay.
and it's so disturbing. And like, I just pretend that he doesn't.
Okay, wait,
and, like,
no, let me explain. Let me
no.
explain.
Oh God.
Here's my justification for pedophilia.
I can't.
Okay.
All right.
First of all, let me just say, having sex with children or touching children or anything of that nature is terrible.
Okay, before we get into that, let's talk about the cheerleader thing. If you wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt, you could just make the argument that it's like, oh, he was just saying like that she was. I don't even know. Like, what am I doing with my life to fucking rationalize this? He said fucking cheerleader was sexy. I guess he was probably saying she was dressed in sexualized clothing. I think that cheerleading fundamentally is like far too sexualized, especially when kids engage in it. I find it like really, really, really bizarre that people will have a fucking meltdown about people like kids dressing in drag, which I mean, like, I'm not a huge fan of, but then they won't look at something like fuck because it's too sexualized, even though traditionally drag is really just about impersonating a character, whatever. But nobody gives a fuck about having their 7-year-old daughter do fucking cheerleading and like pumping their chest out. Why is a little girl at that 12 years old have 125,000 followers? It's because of gross people that are attracted to little girls. So it's like cheerleading in general is something that kids shouldn't be doing. It's fucking gross. Right. However, with the context of the person that we've seen, I can't really give him the benefit of the doubt.
Okay, first of all, let me just say, having sex with
beauty pageants are disgusting too. Yeah,
children, or
when it comes to kids,
of that nature is terrible.
Sure,
and you should not do it.
But
here's my thing. People have foot fetishes. People have fetishes about, you know, everything.
Okay.
And there's websites on the internet where they can look at that weird, creepy shit and jerk off to it. Okay, fine. Everybody do your thing.
Okay.
So why is it when somebody looks at Google's like naked baby on Google and jerks off to it, they can get arrested? I don't understand.
Because there's a naked because somebody took a picture of a naked baby.
But
and and then by the way, they're not Googling naked baby. They're Googling like, I'm not going to say what they're Googling. I mean, I watch a lot of Law and Order.
But here's the worst part of it. I actually went to Google and I'm like, I don't want to see.
You're going to get arrested.
I know, but I didn't want to see child porn. I just wanted to see like, okay, let me pretend like I'm a pedophile for a second.
Okay, by the way, just for the record, the police, I have nothing to do with this. I didn't know.
But what is it like? Is he just like method acting for like 20, 36 years or whatever? Like, what the fuck?
Oh, this like you can literally get arrested for saying.
I know. Listen, let me finish.
Sorry.
So I typed in naked baby. First of all, I don't understand why anybody would be turned on by that. But
that's the first good thing you said.
But they were sexy. I'm kidding. Okay, back to the Instagram.
Wait, this is so weird, dude. Wait, what the fuck? So the biggest problem that I have, like, I know he keeps saying, like, I'm not a pedophile, I'm not attracted to it, but what's so weird to me that sticks out more than anything else is it's the fact that he equates like a foot fetish to a fetish of children. That's what gets me really creeped out, because it's like, how do you not differentiate feet pics of consenting adults and children? I don't really get it. It doesn't really make sense. Like, how do you genuinely wonder, hey, why is it okay to jerk off to feet but not babies? It's like, what do you mean? Like, we shouldn't have to explain the fundamental problem here. It just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. He probably thinks it's the same thing. That's what I'm saying. That's the speculation of, like, if you can't differentiate CP and feet, then you think that they are morally equals. And why would you think that unless you were gross? It just does. That's the thing that I focus on more than anything else. That's gross.
So I look at this little girl's pictures, and she had makeup on. She had her tongue out. She was doing like the peace sign. She was doing a backflip, and one of them she was in the shape of a pretzel, and she put #NoFilters, #pretzel.
Ew! Wait, she was in the shape of a pretzel, dude. Why did this dude? Whose parents let this girl make this fucking Instagram?
I mean, like, I'm not making this up. Why are children...
Was she really 6 or was she like 9?
She was 6.
She must have been like 10.
No, she was 6? I thought she was 12. What the fuck?
Her bio on Instagram is, I'm 6, bitch.
Stop it.
No, so why...
Bad parents
was she, like,
alert, yeah.
Was she bad?
No, she was like a skinny little sexy 6-year-old.
All right, can we please move on?
No, so that's my ugh. Why are children having Instagrams, and why do they almost have as many followers as I do?
Okay, my question is, why do children have Instagrams with the foundation of them being in sexualized poses at 6? So his focus is, why do kids have Instagrams and why are they more famous than me? Seems to be a bit of a narcissistic take, where I would be like, why do children have Instagrams when they're 6-year-old cheerleaders doing pretzel poses? Why do you have that? Well, the only reason that you could say is for old men to look at it. I'm not blaming the 6-year-old. Where the fuck are the parents? I'm so confused. You think he's exaggerating her age? Who cares if she's 6 or 12? It's just disgusting. I mean, I guess it's more disgusting if she's 6, but like, dude, it's like we're beyond the point of I honestly believe we're far beyond the point of like giving like benefit of the doubt.
That's your ugh. Mine is.
Okay, fine, move on. But I'm seriously.
I don't know. I don't have an answer.
I'm ugging out about it.
It's disturbing. And so, by the way, they're all your followers probably. Like they're all. That's who's following you.
Who, 6-year-olds?
Oh,
no.
Maybe.
Oh my god.
He's definitely trying to exaggerate the sexual nature of her content to rationalize the tribe. That's possible. It's possible. But it also makes you question, like, cheerleading is inherently sexualized. You have a young child doing cheerleading with an Instagram. I'm assuming it's because creepy people, mostly creepy men, are following it because they think it's attractive.
Hashtag yum.
I have never heard an adult man call a 6-year-old sexy before in my entire life, like a skinny, sexy little 6-year-old. If I personally knew somebody who talked about children that way, I would not interact with them. I would not. Quite simply. I would never let somebody like that around my children. Never. Not for any amount of time, for any reason, ever. If I had somebody in my life who acted the same way Shane Dawson did around children, publicly, my kids would never know about it. And I honestly really couldn't see myself associating with them in the first place. The next thing we need to talk about...
Someone says this dude can't find anything normal to talk about in a podcast. That's true. What the fuck? You're like a famous celebrity. You gotta talk about kids all the time?
Shane Dawson's collaboration with the Fine Brothers. Now, just so we're clear, I am not putting more blame on Shane Dawson than I am on the Fine Brothers. I'm specifically talking about what all three of them did and how disgusting it was. So I briefly mentioned earlier...
Aren't the Fine Brothers those fucking idiots that told people that like they should align with their content to get paid? Like tried to like bully people into aligning with their content or something?
They had the show called Hey Millie, and it was with the puppets, etc. Look at some of the conversations that they made this puppet have with Shane Dawson.
You know what we could do, Millie?
I mean, like, this by itself is, like, weird, but, like, with everything together, it's, like, painting a rather large picture.
I don't know what porn is.
Oh.
So what is pornography?
Porn is a type of filmmaking.
Oh, it's a filmmaking! Yay!
No.
Like this! We're making porn together!
No, we're not
Everyone
making
come on
porn.
down! What's up with a grown man? Make porn with an 8-year-old!
No.
It sounds like Shane Dawson wrote this script and said, guys, it'll be fine. Like, it's...
Almost not. Porn for little kids! Makes us grow up to be strong like...
So, Millie, you a fan of the D?
Are you talking about your big dick? What does dick mean?
What? No! I was talking about D, like Deezy. Man, where did you learn how to talk like that?
From watching Selena Gomez.
Why is he pretending to be... Whatever.
Selena Gomez?
Yeah, and
what are we
my
doing?
Carly. She's so cool.
What are we
and
doing?
Attractive. I love the way her hair flows down her back and brushes over her giant ass. Oh, that shit's so hot. And you know her and her butch friend experiment. I mean, wouldn't you, Deezy? Oh, and her newly developed breast. They're speaking to me. They're saying, hey, Millie, do you want to suck on us? Ooh. I mean, don't you think she's sexy, Deezy? Hey, what does sexy mean?
Whoa! Jump up!
Deezy, did you just come?
What? No!
Wait, Deezy, follow-up question. What does coming mean? Can you explain it to me in graphic detail?
But by far, the worst thing of all was this clip right here, which I honestly can't believe multiple...
I was like, the first two weren't there. They weren't great, but I was like, okay, I get it. But then that was explicit. That was an explicit... that was talking about like a young girl's tits getting sucked on. So...
adults stood in a room and created this content and recorded it and then let it get on the internet.
Shane, hey, Shane? What, is it wrong to touch yourself in the nether regions?
Dude, what the fuck?
Shane, can I ask you a question, Shane?
What?
Shane, will you fuck me? Shane, wait, follow-up question?
What?
What does fucking mean? Shane, is fucking bad?
Why don't you touch yourself a little bit?
Dude, what is happening right now?
Wait, you're not moving your lips.
Oh, like my face?
No, touch a little lower.
Like my underdeveloped breast?
Hey, who the fuck is this guy, Millie? Millie, who the fuck is this guy?
Why are you so angry?
I'm gonna fucking rape you, bitch! Turn the fuck around! Turn the fuck...
Wait,
hey,
Billy,
put the
Billy,
camera here!
Billy,
Ah!
hold on. Shane, hold on, Billy. Shane, what's rape?
He also had the puppet create like sexual parodies, basically, which in my opinion was very disturbing because he used a Willow Smith song. So at this point, he has said this about Willow Smith.
Oh, I'll whip your hair back and forth.
And then... Yes, a song about an 8-year-old singing about cosmetic surgery. I think you guys might understand why I didn't put ads on this now, because, again, if I did, first of all, I would be making money from this, and that would make me feel, like, garbage.
Why? You might as well put money on them. I mean, it's not like you're begging for money. Like you put. Well, I mean, it might not have gotten demonetized anyway, but but you might as well, whatever. It's one of those weird things where I feel like there's a limit to how much. Like if you're gonna sit down and like put a video together, you could put ads on it. Like it's one thing to do that versus like, guys, I'm not gonna release the video of like exposing Shane Dawson until you give me $1 million. You know what I'm saying?
And then on top of that, I would have to censor so much of this stuff. And I feel like if I did that, you guys might not understand why I'm taking this so seriously. Now, the reason I'm bringing up this Fine Brothers thing on its own specifically is because it leads into my next point. A lot of people say, oh, well, there's no victims involved in the situation. Well, first of all, besides the actual victims, like the 12-year-old girl that he kissed on the lips, whose statement I'll put up right here.
Oh, great. Shane Dawson created a weird sexual tension between himself and his very young female audience. This is why asking him for a kiss ever came to my mind for me, because he had opened the door for that kind of thinking of behavior. Not only did he make me think that asking him for a kiss was okay, he agreed to it when he absolutely knew it was not okay. That's actually a good point. I didn't really think about it like that. So, like, he would make sexualized content, and then he had, like, a lot of young viewers, and then that makes sense to plant in their head of, like, oh, I want to engage sexually with somebody, and then he would engage with it. And that's actually a very interesting point that I didn't think about, because honestly, speculation here, but if it was just jokes, then you would cut it off where it got physical and real. So if you're just making sexualized jokes, I don't know why I gave this guy so much of the benefit of the doubt. If you were making sexualized jokes, then why would you allow it to become real? Does that make sense? It's like, why wouldn't you just stop at the jokes, and then in person you'd be like, oh, that's inappropriate? Because not everything can be a joke, The first time I met him in 2011, I sobbed as I told him how much he meant to me. And he gave me sole credit for saving my life. October that year, after having recorded the kiss at another meet and greet, he asked me to tweet him the video of it, as he wanted to put it on one of his own videos. I did try, and he either never got it or realized how bad that it was. I was in love with him as much as a suicidal 12-year-old girl could be, and he took advantage of me and my loyalty as a fan for the sake of being a predatory online creep, convincing a lot of people that it was just dark humor. Interesting.
As she explains why asking for it is not a valid thing to say.
I mean, like, if we put this together, he seems worse than James Charles, so Jesus Christ.
There are plenty of children who were exposed to Shane Dawson's content because he was marketing it towards children, and they wound up getting groomed, basically. Now, I
think that's a little bit of a heavy accusation, because it's not like a specific... The only reason I say that is because I understand that the content can be contributing to... The kids shouldn't have been consuming his content. I just think that the word grooming is very charged, and I don't think that it's necessarily appropriate here. Grooming is a very, like, personal thing of trying to get somebody to sleep with you, and, cutting you off from your support systems to try to get you to be, like, specifically dependent on that person. So I feel like I could see where you say it's groom-esque in the chat. I get what you're saying. But you guys know I don't like to throw that word around, like, super intensely.
Blaming Shane Dawson for anybody's assault or anything like that. But what I'm saying is the content that he was creating and marketing it towards children has the exact same effect as child grooming. That's the point, to put these kids in sexual situation.
Him and Elise watched part of why I was able to be groomed so easily. Maybe, yeah.
And conversations.
It's one of those things too where, and I hate to bring it up, but it's like, why were you letting your kids watch Shane Dawson? Yeah, no, I think it's definitely normalizing sexual behavior towards kids. I think it's disgusting. I wonder why the parents didn't stop it, though. It's one of those things. Like, why do so many people find it to be appropriate? I mean, these kids are the victims 100%, but, like, part of it obviously is Shane. I would honestly say Shane Dawson, but part of it's also the parents that aren't, like, regulating their online activity.
And speaking of abuse, what's most disturbing to me is that was a plot line in Hey Millie's whole channel, was that this 8-year-old fictional puppet, was a victim of sexual abuse.
Whoa! That reminds me of the thing that my dad used to shove in my mouth when I was 3. Memories.
And then when you couple that with the fact that Shane Dawson himself has said that he makes content for victims of sexual abuse, he said it as like an offhand remark, but still.
My videos are about making people laugh. But also, like, in a serious note, I like to put in messages or things that I went through when I was a kid, like being self-conscious or dealing with abuse or dealing with, overeating, all that stuff, and put those messages in a funny video so that kids actually watch and relate, and they don't feel like they're being taught, You know, like they actually get the message in a fun way.
What message are you? So, okay. Well, first, let me say this is before child monitoring settings on YouTube. I don't care. Like, don't let your kid watch these videos. I guess, are you saying like people that kids were getting access to these in mass without knowing it, the content? But like my thing is if you have your kid going to a meet and greet to see Shane Dawson, I would usually I'd be like, hey, show me a couple of Shane Dawson videos. Anyway, back to this. So apparently he has like a history of potentially like getting like molested as a child and having eating disorders. He seems to have like a lot of issues, probably with his own past. And it's an unfortunate reality that people who are molested as children do have a tendency, or can develop a tendency, of being attracted to children. It's like a bizarre thing. It's like a phenomenon. I'm not saying all people who have that are that person. I'm just saying. So it's possible that that's the reason why. The thing is he's not like expressing his trauma in an educational way to help people go through theirs. He's just making really, really dark jokes.
It's like an after-school special with dick jokes.
You start realizing that Millie was basically crafted to be Shane Dawson's viewer. Very young, just extremely exposed to sexual things because of Shane Dawson.
It seems more like in this scenario he might have thought it was fine because like, well, I have this trauma so I could joke about it.
Himself. She was obsessed with Shane, canonically, and because she loves Shane so much, she would do anything to spend more time with him. Kind of just like he asked the girl to twerk for him, and she would do that because she literally kept repeating, oh, I love you so much. Like, look at this video of him and his mother encouraging a fan to twerk, which is a huge abuse of a power dynamic.
Yeah. I love you too. Can you twerk for us? I know twerking is insane.
Oh, I love you too.
That's his mom? Is that Shane Dawson's mom?
Huge abuse of a power dynamic.
Yeah.
Of him and his mother encouraging a fan to...
Why? Why would the mother... Dude, my mom... What? Why would the mom be comfortable with this?
I know twerking is insane.
Oh, I love you too.
Oh, I love you too. Now shut up and twerk. Maybe she can't hear us. Hear it.
Okay.
Twerk for us.
Oh,
here we go.
These are real children that Shane Dawson was asking to do sexual things.
I don't know if that's CP, but it's definitely weird. And I don't understand why the mom... So why would the mom be okay with it? His mom has a few bolts loose? Yeah, I wonder why. Yeah. Or I wonder how you found that out. No. Yeah, she's very enabling. Because I'm going to say, like, obvious... So I'm not saying that it's... that Shane Dawson has no responsibility. But when you were raised very poorly... That's how these types of things would express themselves. Like, this is fucking... We're going down the goddamn rabbit hole at this point.
That's not a joke. You can't...
H3, Ethan, and his mom went on Omegle to mess around. Okay, did H3 and his mom ask young girls to twerk on Omegle? If it was just that one-off scenario, I'd be like, okay, that's weird. But, like, we've had, like, an hour-long educational experience so far where I went from giving Shane Dawson a benefit of the doubt to being, like, truly disgusted. I mean, I just don't know how else to explain it. You know, I think that it's I don't think anybody can take it away that I gave him a heavy benefit of the doubt. It wasn't until like I saw some extreme examples that I was like, wow, this is pretty fucked up.
Can't call that humor. Honestly, I feel like as somebody who does have this platform this size, it would be wildly irresponsible for me to entertain his narrative that what he did in that clip was a joke. It's about abuse of power. That's
Ethan gifted a girl $1,000 American Eagle gift card because her father passed. Well, that's nice, but it's... I don't mean to laugh, but it's like, oh, my dad's dead. Oh, well, here's $1,000 American Eagle gift card. Like, what are you gonna do? Dress him up? Like, I don't... I'm not saying he's a bad person. It's just like what those two things together are like, well, what the fuck? It's a nice thing to do. It's just like, what the fuck? Yeah, he called out perverts for being disgusting. Okay, so Ethan was on there calling out perverts for being disgusting. He just wanted to have fun on Omegle and people to meet his mom. That makes perfect sense to me. It was her birthday. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, it was her birthday. Okay. Listen.
Whole thing is. So I simply...
Oh, it had nothing to do with her dad? Oh, it was her birthday. Okay. Well, why the fuck did you tell me it was because the dad died? It was because it was her birthday. Those are two different things. Those are very different. Just so you know. Well, okay. Let's just be honest. If my dad died, it would be my birthday. I would fucking love it, right? It would be awesome. My dad's a scum fuck. But most girls, most people, probably don't want their dads to die. So it's not their birthday. So those are two very different things. Oh, so she said her dad passed away and it was her birthday. Okay, now this fucking story's shifting. I hope my dad passes away on my birthday. That'd be awesome.
I do not believe it's enough to say that Shane Dawson was making edgy content.
What do I hate my dad? He left my mom when she was 5 months pregnant. Then he came back, pretended like they were together when she was in the hospital giving birth, and he left again. That's why he's a scumbag. My mom never told me that till I was 20 years old and actually asked, like, what happened to my dad. Like, my mom never talked shit about my father. Never even talked about him whatsoever. So, like, I know it's a true thing. So,
back a few years ago, I believe it needs to be called what it is. Shane Dawson was abusing his platform. That's what he was doing years ago. Just
they were married, and he was like, he wanted to fuck my mom without a condom. And then she got pregnant. And he's like, "What the fuck?" It's like, "Well, what do you think, idiot?" Like,
completely unchecked because nobody could do anything to stop him. And you know what the thing about it is too? People did try. This wasn't for lack of trying.
Yeah,
people
true.
talked about the racism. People talked to him about the effects that his content was having on other people, and he didn't listen to it. I found a post from years ago from Neil Ciceriga talking about this exact thing. There's a video from Francesca Ramsey from years ago talking about how people mask racism as comedy. So again, this idea that Shane Dawson was a product of his
hey, sorry for my ignorance.
time is simply false. Shane Dawson was doing extremely abnormal things at the time and was completely unchecked because for some reason people were just unwilling to confront him. At this point, I'm perfectly fine saying somebody should be deplatformed.
It's like really interesting because that's a question that I've been consistent. Like, why did he why did it last for so long? Like, why did it last for so long? Because he had a huge following of people who enjoyed the edgier shit. Well, I don't know if I can call it edgy anymore. It's fucking crazy. And nobody really cared because, like, we know people probably knew about it and nobody really gave a fuck for a while. And I really think that's because the landscape shifted. I would say that. So, for me, like I said, we just shifted very heavily socially, very quickly in the last 5 years, even 10 years. I would argue in the last 10 years we've done more social changing than in the 50 years prior to that. So I think what it is that from what I'm seeing so far is it seems that he does have racist undertone. I mean, he seems to be rather racist, and he seems to be like inappropriate with children. I'm reluctant to say predatory, and the social space at the time made the content that he thought was appropriate seem just slightly edgy. But then as we get older and we investigate these things, it's not the same as like, oh, somebody's saying the N-word in a Call of Duty lobby anymore. Now it's like these deep-seated like representations of like the way that of like black stereotypes in the most, shittiest way possible, or really inappropriate interactions with young people. So I think maybe that's why it slid for so long.
When they use their platform to affect children, when they use their platform to affect people that can't consent, when they use their platform to showcase imagery of them harassing beings that can't consent, pets, children, etc. And I say this because Shane Dawson himself said that he would be okay with losing everything.
I'm willing to lose everything. At this point, realizing how many people I've hurt or...
Yo, he also is ugly as fuck. Like, he looks like Sid from Ice Age, so I don't understand why people followed his content. I don't really get it.
How many people I've inspired to say awful things or do anything awful, like to finally just own up to all of this and be accountable is worth losing everything to me.
I think at the very least, he needs to take a step back and admit what he was using his platform for in the first place. The last part I want to talk about are the
That's mean. I like Sid from Ice Age. I'm sorry.
Complicit adults in the situation, because to me, the fact that one individual is doing things that are just this gross and sick, unfortunately, is not ultimately surprising, but the fact that he got away with it because nobody in his life at any point, on camera anyway, would stop him is disgusting. His girlfriend Lisa is absolutely complicit.
It's natural. Is there anybody around? No?
It's natural for a girl at your age.
Yeah. So we want to talk to you. We want to explain what sex is. We did get real quiet.
Oh, where's the other peep? We should probably explain.
We'll use peeps. Okay, well, one peep and then we'll use you.
I don't know. I wouldn't say that his girlfriend is complicit because, like I was saying before, I think the interpretation was he was just really edgy. It's the boundary crossers that get me. It's like the conversation of like, why is CP, like him thinking CP is just as bad as like a foot fetish, or when he would actually kiss his fans when like in public. You know, that's where it goes from a joke to like a real mental perspective. And so I would give a reasonable doubt, or a reasonable, you know what I'm saying, whatever the fuck I'm trying to say, the benefit of the doubt to the girlfriend. So at least from what we've seen I don't know, I could be fucking wrong. I mean, maybe I should just keep watching.
So I'll just pretend like that's, you know.
Yeah, they aren't together anymore, yeah.
Lucy, this happens.
See, oh.
What the fuck? All right, never mind.
And then you're so happy when you're an adult. I can't believe I'm endorsing this.
She tried to release a statement.
Yeah, so she's even said like, "Oh, why am I doing this?" So it seems like he encouraged her to make it, and then she was like, "Oh, why am I doing this?" You know. I think you're reading. I want to just clear up a clip from Shane's channel, myself and Shane talking to his cousin. It was obviously absolutely inappropriate and not funny. Watching it back now, it makes my skin crawl, and I'm so sorry. But you know, my thing is like the mom of the. It seems like Shane's family thought it was fine, which is really weird to me. I don't know, dude. Before I came and say this, it was more important to reach out. Both Shane's cousin in the video and their mom apology. I hope that they are the ones affected by it. They're both gracious and welcoming. They accepted my apology and reassured me that both remember the moment was indeed a planned and consensual joke. Even though it's terrible, I've grown over the past years as a creator and woman, blah, 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 blah. What's really weird, though, is that, like, what's kind of weird is that the family thought it was okay. Like, think about it. Like, so the mom of the daughter's like, yeah, it was fine that you put a fucking peep in your vagina to simulate sex. That was totally okay. Like, we know it was just a joke. It's like, I don't think I would let any of my kids make jokes like that.
She basically parroted the same thing that Shane Dawson said. In other words, she put the blame of that situation on consent and claims that what she did with...
Well, no, this is like a real thing. It's like a horrible boundary issue. Like, that mother's irresponsible for letting her kid do that consensually. It's just stupid.
Her cousin Lucy, or Shane's cousin Lucy, was consensual. But again, children can't consent. We're not talking about 18-year-olds, 16, 17-year-olds. She said she was 12. A 12-year-old can't consent to what Shane Dawson was asking of them. Another huge person who was complicit in enabling Shane Dawson's behavior was absolutely his mother. And I'm not saying this like, you know, to talk about his mom or to bring his mom into it. I'm saying this because his mom was on camera. She was just another person
seems kind of shitty. You know?
And you can hear, rather, she was encouraging that girl to twerk along with him. When he said he wanted her to undress, she just literally gave him a slap on the wrist.
Yeah, girl. Yeah, now tell her to show herself.
Stop it, Shaylee.
She would participate in the...
Okay, well, that part, she seemed to at least have a boundary. So she's like, stop it. That wasn't just a slap on the wrist. That was like, you need to stop. All right, just saying. Still, the fact that they even had a kid twerk is weird.
Racist skits that he would write with him. And I just simply don't understand how you could think that's a good idea. So again, this idea that Shane Dawson was in any way normal, or the things that he was doing was normal, is a false narrative perpetuated by him and the adults who are enabling him and complicit in normalizing that behavior. What was normal for that time period, just so we can all be on the same page, was political incorrectness targeted towards adults. Okay? Absolutely was not normal.
That's fair.
Racist and sexual content targeted towards children. Absolutely was not the norm. Anybody who says anything otherwise either doesn't like realize the extent of what Shane was doing, which I think a lot of his fans didn't, or they're making false equivalences. Because South Park would cross lines that I was afraid to cross in this video, which isn't even monetized. And yet, South Park has nothing to do with running a blog where they're asking actual children to send them sexual images of themselves. So honestly, there is no it was a different time, because as far as I'm concerned, this stuff doesn't have an expiration date. And if we're dealing with a person who hasn't even admitted that he's done these kinds of things, absolutely, I do not have any room in my thinking process for the possibility that this person has changed. No, not at all. Not when this behavior has gone unaddressed and this person has not admitted to it.
Yeah, I guess we wouldn't know if they have or haven't changed. I mean, they're obviously not doing the same content. I guess the implication there you'd have to believe that he was like predarizing children in private. So that's like one of the biggest things. Like, is Shane doing these things in private? Or, and I know this is like a weird thing, is he did he or is he going to therapy for potentially, you know, pedophilia? You know, because if the behavior stopped, then he probably changed. It doesn't mean that we have to say come back. It's okay. But
part 1, pretty cool. I'm super into that. I actually had fun editing that. Part 2 was a nightmare. It was a nightmare for me to record all of that stuff and to put it together. But I felt like if nobody did it and I just continued to be the next person who saw all this stuff and didn't do anything about it, I would start feeling complicit, and that's not something I want. So now we're just on to part 3, which thankfully is a lot lighter, because I know it was a lot. Part 3, we're just going to examine the difference between past Shane and how he gets away with being current Shane. A lot of people who think they're defending Shane Dawson are defending Shane Dawson's persona. They are literally defending the idea of Shane Dawson, which is the idea of a very compassionate
YouTube audience and South Park audience are different. Well, I think that's the point, right? So like South Park audience, like it was very expressed, like you had to be mature. It was on later at night. Like they did what I think that they went through all reasonable actions to show that this is for adults and not targeted towards children. So I think that's a big difference as well.
Passionate, sweet 30-year-old who just sees the good in everybody, who will always stand up for his friends, etc. I'm sorry.
It is a little, a lot of times people project. So it's like, hey, I'm 30. I see all the good in everybody. It's like, well, maybe you're projecting a little bit. Maybe you want people to see the good in you. There's an argument there.
Sorry, but that is not what Shane Dawson does. There is no evidence that
I actually think that he might be that person, kind of like, okay, it just makes logical sense. I don't know a lot about him, but it makes logical sense for him to turn into from like a troll that might be, well, that's very inappropriate, to somebody who wants to see the good in all people because he wants you to see the good in him and give him the benefit of the doubt. If anything, it's almost more incriminating that he would be the kind of person that would be like, oh, give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Like, oh, I know. You know what I'm saying? Like, that seems to be, that to me is a little bit more incriminating.
That kind of person that he's chosen to put forward, and I can only go off of what I've actually seen, which are the things I presented in this video. Part of the reason Shane's audience is so connected to him is because he actually emulates his persona off of his audience members.
Mama got one.
See, every YouTuber to some extent has a persona, even the ones who will tell you that they don't. It's pretty much unconscious behavior to lean into repeated mannerisms.
Well, yeah, it's like a code switching,
when you're sitting in front of a camera, because you're not talking to anybody, But for the most part, that's actually a very entertaining thing. It's fun to see people's personas, like Jenna Marbles being a 32-year-old lady. That's her thing, you know what I mean?
Welcome back to being a 32-year-old lady.
Sadly realistic portrait of what a 30-year-old lady's life is like. Guys, I'm Jenna, I'm 30.
I believe that Jenna Marbles is being herself. She's just being a YouTube version of herself, which is very entertaining. God, I hope I'm being myself. For the most part, I've never seen having a persona as being like this, I guess, devious, dark thing. But in Shane Dawson's case, it is very clear that this persona is not him. All you have to do is compare his behavior up before he's changed over into that new wholesome mentality with the things that he tries to convince us that he is now, and then you'll start to see why he has to spend so much time reminding us how good of a person he is, and he has to spend so much time verbalizing that he only ever wants to say nice things about people, because he's still literally getting his story straight. That's why he acts poor, even though he's just literally not. It's why he uses like the Stan Twitter lingo, even though he's a fully grown adult. It's because he is trying his hardest to relate to, I wouldn't even say his audience, which is mostly, teenage girls. He's like relating to what he thinks a teenage girl is. This very internet version of a teenage girl is what he emulates online. And it's eerie to watch, especially when things start slipping through the cracks. I think so many people forgot that as recently as 2018, Shane Dawson got caught up in weird things involving minors and sexualization. Now,
what happened in 2018?
This fault goes 100% on Tana Mojo, who thought it would be a fun idea to dress up as kid influencer JoJo Siwa, but this kind of version. And Shane Dawson retweeted that. And then when he got called on it, he said he didn't see anything wrong with it, and he thought it was funny. That doesn't line up with empath.
Oh, he just retweeted it? Wait, so he
JoJo
retweeted
Siwa.
like a gross
This
over-sexualization version of JoJo Siwa. Yeah, I mean, by itself, I wouldn't say that it's like particularly terrible. JoJo was telling me to do it. I don't want to send any message. I love her and didn't think of it that way. Okay. Sorry, because they were both friends of mine.
See anything wrong with it, and he thought it was funny. That doesn't line up with empath. I understand people's feelings. I want to help. I'm a good person.
Yeah, true.
I thought a grown-up adult version of this living, breathing child was funny. That is the old Shane that I just showed you in those clips. Another thing I want to talk about is his documentaries. Basically, because he's no longer creating pedophile content.
No, I understand it's part of a pattern, but like right now we're seeing like, okay, did he change or not? I wouldn't necessarily see this as like he didn't change because it's a grown person. I understand that they're emulating a child. I get that. In like the way that they're dressing. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be giving so much benefit of the doubt.
How good his stuff is now. And it's like everyone just spends so much male content or racist content or bestiality content. Everyone just spends so much time telling him how good his stuff is now. And it's like better than bestiality and pedophilia. Wow. That honestly explains how the bar for his content has always been so low, and yet people hype it up so much because of where he started. Every single documentary he's made has been problematic and wrong in some way or another. The one he made with Eugenia Cooney, he was absolutely exploiting her eating disorder for clicks, views, and sensationalism, especially when you hear how he talks about Eugenia Cooney outside of that.
Well, you don't know struggles till you're taking a picture standing next to Eugenia fucking Cooney, bitch.
I don't know what that is or who that is.
Eugenia Cooney makes dolls?
He mishandled an abuse situation in the Jake Paul series, and not only that, but widely contributed to misinformation and sensationalization of actual medical disorders. He had a series about Bobby Burns, which was pure manipulation, just designed to get the audience to wind up hating Bobby Burns, which is exactly what wound up happening to Bobby. It was an entire series based off of the idea of showing how good of a person he was to somebody who made a critical video of him. A critical video, might I add, that is nowhere near as critical as people have been of him lately. His first series with Jeffree Star helped to normalize racism on a massive scale, thanks to his apology, or rather, him being an apologist for Jeffree Star's racism. His second series with Jeffree Star was false advertising, but I already talked about that in my previous video. Like, the more you look at Shane Dawson's content, the more you realize whether his intentions are there or not, every single time the impact is very clear, and it winds up getting swept under the rug. Because I think most people are conscious of most of the things I've said in this video. I think most people know what he did with Eugenia Cooney. I think most people know what he did with the whole sociopath angle he took. And
people in the chat are saying like, yeah, those documentaries were really bad. Okay.
The Jake Paul series. And to some extent.
So then like he would be a bad person then. He might have changed, but he's changed into a shitty person, I guess. So.
I think most people know about his weird jokes about kids.
Which obviously doesn't align with the empath thing, because if you're going to do like a documentary on somebody just to deplatform them or to sensationalize particular aspects of it to make them seem worse or to get more clicks and views, obviously you're not much of an empath, you're just an asshole.
But I'm not blaming them, because people don't put it all together. When you realize the sudden change and he always has to be nice and just how often he has to tell you what kind of person he is, when you see how his entire platform is built up off of these legitimately disgusting things, and now he's trying to just spread like a thin layer of wholesomeness over top of it, that is why he keeps getting into trouble so often. The man himself has admitted that every single time he's ever apologized up until this last one, allegedly, he was doing it out of a place of fear and not even genuine change.
Yes, I apologize for a lot of them, but I'm 31, almost 32.
Wait, what the fuck?
Fear and not even genuine change.
Just look at his hand.
Yes, I apologize for...
I apologize. What is he in reference to? Like, I apologize. What does that mean?
For a lot of them, but I'm 31, almost 32. Those apologies suck. I don't know who that person is anymore. Every apology video I've ever made has been from fear.
And then...
Okay, I guess that's fair.
Then, based off of how he was downplaying his behavior around children in his latest apology video, you can clearly see that that one is not genuine either.
I swear on my life, I am not somebody who would ever talk about a child, like in seriousness. I would never talk about a child in any way that was inappropriate. That is disgusting. That is gross.
I don't know, man. I really cannot get over the comparison of like foot fetish shit to, CP. It's just not, I just can't.
It is not something I would ever do. It is something I did for shock value or because I thought it was funny or like, oh my God, my child molester character or whatever. It's all gross. And I promise that is not real. That is
what I will say, which is interesting, and it might very well may be real. It's interesting is that, okay, so this is an interesting, so the guy.
It's not me. Have I done sketches where kids were saying crazy things?
Give me a
yes.
second.
Do I regret it? Yes.
So what's interesting to me is that this guy here is making this claim that like Shane Dawson hasn't changed. He's not a different person. He's portraying what people want him to be perceived as, the nice guy. However, I think that if you're going to make an argument that he's just portraying himself as better now, that you have to lend that argument to the way that he was portraying himself in the past. He talked about code switching and the way people interact differently with different people. So, like, if you're saying that he's interacting based on, like, the way that he's interacting based on the way his audience are interacting to him, so he's going to create the nice guy persona, there would be a level of that in his old content as well. He probably was getting encouraged to do really weird, gross shit by his audience that enjoyed that type of content. So I think that that's part of the equation as well.
Point, I don't know what kind of person Shane Dawson is, okay? I don't know if he's done anything to children. Again, I am not trying to imply that he has. As far as I'm concerned, I don't personally believe he's harmed children in that kind of way. However, he was making content that caters to pedophiles by repeatedly exhibiting pedophilic behavior. That's not a question. That's something that he did. He repeatedly used these children as sexual props in his content. He repeatedly brought these children into sexual conversations. That's pedophile behavior regardless of whether you're a child rapist, because again, I'm not saying those are the same thing. However, he's absolutely exhibited pedophilic behavior, and it's ridiculous that in the past he's claimed that we're ridiculous for pointing it out in the first place. I just feel like for so long, I've watched Shane Dawson gaslight everybody on the platform, and it's not okay. It's not okay. I feel like even if this video doesn't go over well, I believe in my ability to show you why I'm saying this. So that was my video about Shane Dawson. I promise you I'm never doing a video like this again. I loved it, by the way. As I'm sure you can tell, I really did put everything into it because I made some really serious claims, so I had to show some really serious imagery, which I hate, and I'm sorry. But long story short, I can in no way support Shane Dawson. I honestly can't even support people supporting Shane Dawson. Just the conclusions that I've come to based off of the things that I found while I was creating this video shows me a very disturbing person that I want nothing to do with. I want him nowhere near my children, and honestly, I just don't want to have anything to do with him ever again. I made this video, I said everything I wanted to say, but something is not right with Shane Dawson and Shane Dawson's content. Clearly, I would venture to say objectively, there is something wrong with Shane Dawson's content and the things that he's doing on this platform. And now that I've said what I have to say about this, I don't want anything to do with it. So my next video is just going to be a cute little video about Tati Westbrook, because she's not, you know, racist. She doesn't mess with kids. She doesn't sexually assault dogs, you know? Just the things that you love in most people. But as you could tell, it was just a very serious topic, so I really appreciate you guys watching it. I wish there was a happy ending, but not everything in life has a happy ending, apparently, because he still has a platform. And I can't help but feel like no matter how many views this video gets, I haven't done anything. But I still did what I could, so honestly, who cares?
All right, well, that was certainly a very interesting video. Definitely very revealing about Shane Dawson. Listen, man. So, I guess at the end of the day, get these weird images off here. This is like a really weird scenario, man. That was a lot, yeah. So, obviously I started the video giving Shane Dawson a lot of the benefit of the doubt. We ended the video not giving him so much. It seems like there's like a lot loaded into this, because it seems like Shane Dawson has like a history of abuse in some capacity, which doesn't justify what he's done, but it provides context. He seems to have lowered moral standards from his like mother, for instance. So like parenting that I would consider less than stellar, causing boundary issues. A lot of his family thought it was appropriate for him to make these jokes about their kids that were like 12 years old. So there seems to be an issue of like a history of abuse or an abusive situation, a history of trauma, bad boundaries from parents. On top of, and I talk about this a lot with Trisha Paytas, but on top of the fact that YouTube, he grew with YouTube, and YouTube was a very edgy online platform and space where anything was encouraged because there wasn't a lot of attention drawn to it, so you could do whatever you want, which didn't change until YouTube decided to change it actively and actually, you know, say, hey, maybe we shouldn't have allowed lots of blackface and racism. I do think that people don't contextualize that landscape enough. Because YouTube allowed this for how long? They don't care. They didn't care that there was racism. All they cared about was people clicking on their channel. And then all of a sudden there was a reaction because people were upset about it. So they changed their platform and they changed what they express on their platform. It seems like all these conditions created like a fucking proverbial monster here. Somebody who thought it was okay and appropriate to make really inappropriate jokes, whether it's for children or animals or black people. Do I think that Shane Dawson might have changed? Possibly. Maybe. I wouldn't doubt that he would be super sensitive and reactionary to the landscape of YouTube. You see a lot of these older content creators evolving as YouTube evolves. A lot of them seem to be very performative. Maybe Shane Dawson's was as well. But I think if you say that it was a performative transaction to this nice guy character, you'd have to keep in mind that there's probably a level of performativeness in his original content, even if that was truer to himself and his edginess. Surprisingly, and I think that is something that we should keep up for context, there hasn't seemed, not a single allegation has seems to have come about Shane Dawson. Like, I understand the kissing one was inappropriate. However, you would generally think that somebody with this type of platform that engaged in like really inappropriate behavior would have a slew of like allegations of them talking to children, and I'm surprised about that. That obviously that doesn't excuse everything, but I think it shows at the very least that he most likely isn't an active predator, and that more than anything else, it's a boundary issue. Ultimately, Shane Dawson, I mean, I don't know if he's a bad person. He obviously doesn't really grow shit. He probably did learn and grow, honestly, but it doesn't mean that he should come back. I think that's where I would come from. So that was something, though. Jesus Christ. People have to remember this is before monetization on the platform done by YouTube, so people were a part of management companies that gave monetization, so YouTube was the wild, wild west, lawless, nobody was checking on it. Yeah, I get that. So, yeah. Okay. Interesting video. I wonder why he took it down, though. I honestly do wonder why. I made a speculation earlier, but I wonder why he took it down. Hey, yo, I pull up.
Dugaboth just resubscribed for 3 months.
Thank you so much for this. Thank you so much for the subscription. I have to get going and eat and then go to the gym.
Xiontic just subscribed.
I gotta go to the gym. Thank you so much for the sub. I'm going back to the gym today, guys. I'm nervous. I'm fucking nervous. Is anybody cool on? Who are these people? Hey, yo, I pull up. Who's this person? Circus P.
That worked. Thank you. Oh, Circus swears. Speaking your French.
Okay, let's pretend we didn't. Yeah, I don't know. So, people building a home gym. Yeah, no, you know, I thought about building a home gym and I was gonna do it, but we're gonna try to have kids soon. So, like in the next year, and the room I was gonna make into a home gym is the room where we would put our kid, because we have an upstairs and a downstairs. So, we're in the downstairs. There's 2 bedrooms downstairs. We're gonna make the room next to our bedroom a workout room, but that's where we're gonna put our kids. So, what do you mean? That vegan teacher's about to react to Joe Robe? What? You and all your friends. What do you mean?
Why is Gordon Ramsay an animal?
What? It says hypocrite / failure. What do you mean? When does this premiere? 41 minutes. How is he how is Inam or what the fuck? It says brothers at heart. Nambler at John Robert Bell. What the dude? That's fucked up. Nah, I'm not gonna stay on and watch it. Dude, this is fucked up, man. Dude, she's such a cunt. I'm sorry. I'm just like, I'm sorry, but fuck, dude. Like, you're gonna say that this guy's a fucking, like, this guy's equal to a fucking predator, but probably because he eats meat. And the thumbnail here, it suggests that he's even worse than the Joe Robe. This is fucking terrible, dude. Dude, this is so fucked up, bro. Oh, guys, let's go find somebody to raid. I'm gonna just fucking... Let me just do something. I want to save this. This is fucked up, man. She's such a bad person. Alright, go back to the femboy? Probably not. We'll have to react to that tomorrow, though. You and all your friends. Did we like this game? Hey, yo, Apollo. I'm just gonna go raid like a random smaller streamer, whatever it says. Not that I'm a fucking big streamer, but recommended chatting channels, Hype Train, Minecraft channels. What the fuck? Where are the small streaming channels? You and all your friends. Channels you think I'd like? Why would you think I would like these channels? What am I, fucking dumb? What am I, an idiot? Raid Bob Roll. I don't know who the fuck that is. What is Deathloop? That looks cool. Yeah, I'll raid somebody playing Deathloop. This guy, he said he wants a big raid. Alright, what I'm saying. I love you guys. Take care. Have a good one. See you tomorrow for vegan teachers. Fucking ridiculous bullshit. You and all your friends. I'll give you all your points back too. You and all your friends.